Chapter 1137. I still have some yuan here. Exchange it for liquefied essence for me. Putting away the first-grade earth fiend. Qi Hung looked up at Lu Yin and made another request. To Qi Hung, yuan was completely a piece of rotten wood with no value at all. Only by exchanging it for liquefied essence would he use it to raise his cultivation. It's just a small matter. Don't worry, young Master Qi. I'll definitely do it well. Great Xia Yuan represented liquefied essence in the first place. Yuan Bao Pavilion had done a lot of exchanging yuan for cultivators, so Lu Yin did not care at all. Then, when he saw Qi Hung take out 2 purple gold wooden tokens, his face turned pale. 5 million caddies? Lu Yan's hands were trembling as he received the yuan. Exchanging yuan for liquefied essence was nothing, but 5 million caddies was too frightening. Young Master Qi, I can't make the decision on this matter. Please wait a moment. Returning the yuan in his hand, Lu Yin wiped the cold sweat off his forehead and hurriedly bid farewell. It's impossible that Yuan Bao Pavilion can't take out 5 million caddies of essence, right? Qi Hung also knew that his actions were somewhat frightening. This was like the gold standard on Earth. Paper money was linked to gold. In theory, paper money could be exchanged for gold. But if you want to exchange for 5 million caddies of gold, why don't you try? Young Master Qi, I'm back. A moment later, Lu Yin ran over with a head full of sweat. He held a storage bag in his hand and handed it over. Young Master Qi, you're a genius and worthy of admiration. My humble boss admires you very much and agreed without hesitation. Thank you, Brother Lu. Qi Hung reached out to take the storage bag. Seeing the liquefied essence inside like a small lake, he nodded with a smile. Heavenly Treasure Pavilion is indeed the #1 business in Great Xia. Its foundation is indeed deep. Exchanging 5 million caddies of essence in one go would probably empty this Ontan County Heavenly Treasure Pavilion branch's fortune. However, Heavenly Treasure Pavilion was the property of the Great Xia royal family. A mere 5 million caddies of essence was just a speck of dust to the Great Xia royal family that had ruled this world for hundreds of millions of years. The preparations are done. All that's left is to return and enter seclusion to refine first-grade earth fiend and liquefied essence and prepare to advance to the essence soul. After bidding farewell to Heavenly Treasure Pavilion, Qi Hung returned to the Rain Dragon Guard encampment. In terms of training in secluded meditation, naturally, the Rain Dragon Guard headquarters were the safest. After all, there was no power in this world that dared to attack the Rain Dragon Guard. Qi Hung, you came back just in time. I have something to talk to you about. Qi Hung had just returned when General Han Ting was already waiting at the entrance of his cave. General, what are your orders? Qi Hung was also surprised by Han Ting's arrival and quickly inquired. Our Rain Dragon Guard has a rule. If you wish to join the Rain Dragon Guard, you must pass a trial. General Han Ting smiled and shook his head. Although your strength has long surpassed the standard, this is a rule set by His Majesty. So, I still have to go through another trial? Qi Hung smiled faintly. Since that's the case, then please make the arrangements, General. During this time, Qi Hung had also learned some of the rules of the Rain Dragon Guard. Even ordinary Wanxiang adepts were able to pass the Rain Dragon Guard's external guard trials. For Qi Hung to pass was naturally an easy task. Good, come with me. As he spoke, General Han Ting led Qi Hung to a towering mountain that pierced through the clouds. At the peak of this mountain, the entire mountain seemed to have been flattened by someone's sword, leaving behind an enormous platform. On this platform, there was an enormous formation that was covered with flowing light. Around the formation, there was a squad of Rain Dragon Guard soldiers dressed in shining armor and emanating majestic auras. This is the teleportation formation of the Rain Dragon Guard. After arriving at the peak of the mountain, General Han Ting pointed at the formation in front of them, then introduced it to Qi Hung. This teleportation formation of ours is connected to the teleportation formations of any prefecture in the world. This is a vital location for our Rain Dragon Guard. It was connected to all the prefectures of the world. No matter which place was in chaos, The rain dragon guards of the various prefectures of the world would be able to provide reinforcements at any time. This was one of the reasons why the Grand Xia Empire ruled the world. But of course, this was just a negligible part of it. The true foundation of rule came from the invincible power of the Emperor of the Grand Xia, a pure yang, true immortal. Qi Hung, the Rain Dragon Guard trials are in the wild marshes of the Jail Mountains. There will be people there to receive you. After you go over, just do as you're told. This trial, to you, will be no different from a game. Han Ting pointed at the teleportation formation. Go. I'll activate the teleportation formation and send you to the wild marshes of the Jail Mountains. All right. Only after becoming an official Rain Dragon Guard would one be able to receive the benefits of being a Rain Dragon Guard, such as going to the Scripture Pavilion and flipping through all sorts of materials and trading for all sorts of divine abilities and secret techniques. Qi Hung didn't care too much about divine abilities and secret techniques, but the materials of the Rain Dragon Guard would be of great help to Qi Hung in understanding this era. Clasping his hands, Qi Hung smiled as he stepped into the teleportation formation. Rumble, the teleportation formation exploded with light. Space itself trembled, and Qi Hung's body instantly disappeared. In the next instant, Qi Hung reappeared within an enormous army camp at the borders of the wild marshes of the Jail Mountains. You're Qi Hung, right? As soon as he stepped out of the teleportation formation, a muscular man dressed in black armor and with a swarthy face, looking like an iron tower, came forward to welcome him. He grinned at Qi Hung. My name is Qin Gang. General Han has already notified me that you are coming to participate in the trial. I'll have to trouble you, General Qin. Qi Hung clasped his hands towards Qin Gang. Might I ask what the rules of this trial are? Please tell me, General Qin. Don't call me General. Old Qin, am not a general. In our Intan Rain Dragon Guard, only General Han is a general. Qin Gang smiled and shook his head. I've heard of your reputation. You destroyed a primal divinity in one blow and beheaded a loose immortal in one battle. Given your strength, there's actually no need for you to participate in this trial. However, rules are rules. Please forgive me. Since I've joined a Rain Dragon Guard, I naturally have to abide by the rules. Big Brother Qin, please make the arrangements. Given Qi Heng's strength, this sort of trial wasn't hard at all. It wasn't a matter of principle, so there was no need for him to break the rules. The requirements for this trial are to survive in the wild marshes of the Jail Mountains for 3 months and kill 3 Wanxiang monsters. As Qin Gang spoke, he led Qi Hung out of the army camp. He pointed at the vast expanse of land in front of them and said to Qi Hung, given your strength, passing this trial naturally won't be hard. However, the wild marshes of the Jail Mountains aren't that simple. In the past, the wild marshes of the Jail Mountains were used to imprison fiend gods. Afterwards, the fiend gods broke out of the prison and engaged in a great war that caused the heavens to collapse and the earth to crack. Currently, there are countless spatial rifts within the wild marshes of the Jail Mountains. These spatial rifts are very dangerous. You have to be careful. Thank you for your guidance, Big Brother Qin. Given Qi Heng's divine sense, it wasn't hard for him to sense spatial rifts. However, Qin Gang's warning was out of the goodness of his heart, and Qi Heng's thanks truly came from the bottom of his heart. Go. 3 months from now, I'll wait here for your return. Qin Gang smiled and waved his hand. Then I'll head over now. Clasping his hands in salute, Qi Hung mounted a streak of light and charged headlong into the wild marshes of the Jail Mountains. And then, Qin Gang took out a talisman from his bosom and sent out a message. He's coming. After speaking, Qin Gang reached out and crushed the talisman into dust. Chapter 1138. The Wild Marshes of the Jail Mountains, the Fiend God Prison of the Primordial Era. Qi Hung flew through the skies atop his elemental magnet. Raising his head, he stared at the mountains that stretched for 100,000 kilometers. Laughing, he shook his head. The fiend gods of this world, they're probably on par with those so-called god beasts. Their power is quite ordinary. Qi Hung chuckled. The fiend gods of this era definitely couldn't compare to the fiend gods of the primordial era. However, This place really has been destroyed. Even after so many years, the spatial tear still hasn't healed. His body blurred as he flew past an invisible spatial tear. Qi Hung spread out his divine sense, searching for Wanxiang monsters. Completing the mission required the heads of 3 Wanxiang monsters. He could just casually kill a few and complete the mission. In the remaining time, Qi Hung could also research how to fuse with a first-grade earth fiend. For a Wanxiang to become a primal was a major breakthrough in cultivation. After becoming a primal, one could be considered to have eternal life. Even though Qi Hung had the memories of Autar Kunyuan, this major breakthrough couldn't be taken lightly. There are actually so many monsters in the wild marshes of the Jail Mountains. No wonder the Rain Dragon Guard needed to station a squad here. 10,000 kilometers away from the Rain Dragon Guard, Qi Hung discovered that the mountains and rivers in front of him were filled with countless amounts of monstrous aura. It was as though a horde of monsters were dancing about. All living things are equal. Humans, monsters, they're all the same to me. Raising his head, he saw that there was a mountain in front of him, where the aura of sin soared into the heavens. This mountain just so happened to have a nest of monsters. Sweeping it with his divine sense, he found that there were 5 Wanxiang monsters within. How many people have you eaten? How could you have committed such great sins? Qi Hung shook his head. Then I'll start with you. His body blurred, and Qi Hung instantly landed on the mountain in front of him. Who goes there? Qi Hung's undisguised rampage instantly caused the Wanxiang monsters within the cave to charge out in shock and fury. Human cultivators? Ha, that's great. It's been so long since I've eaten human cultivators. The flesh of mortals, it's so hard to chew on. A giant with a wolf's head stared at Qi Hung with green eyes, saliva dripping from his lips. Fried food. Fried is the best. A tiger-headed great demon quickly added. Idiot, of course it's steamed. Soft skin and tender flesh are most suitable for steaming. A black bear demon had a different opinion. Interesting. Qi Hung shook his head with a smile when he saw the 5 little monsters criticizing him and completely disregarding him. It's really not easy for such stupid little monsters to survive until now. Then the sooner I die, the sooner I can reincarnate. With a wave of his hand, the Hunyuan Great Palm imprint rushed out. Bang, bang, bang. It was like a game of whack-a-mole. After a few slaps, the All Creations monsters instantly died. Even an Essence Divinity Taoist could be slapped to death with a single slap, much less a few inferior All Creations monsters. This mission is really easy. He stepped forward and waved his hand, collecting the monster's head that he had deliberately kept. The mission of killing 3 Wanxiang monsters had officially been completed. All that was left was to live in the wild marshes of the Jail Mountains for 3 months. With Qi Hung's strength, it was like taking a vacation. However, rumble. The entire mountain shook violently. A wild wind howled, and flames roiled as an enormous formation was suddenly activated. Another realm-sealing formation? Qi Hung raised an eyebrow, a surge of fury in his heart. Without question, this had been Northmont Fox's doing. I haven't even had a chance to go find you, but you've actually come to annoy me? It seems you've truly grown tired of living. Qi Hung had been planning to kill Northmont Fox long ago, but he had delayed his purchase of a first-grade Earth Fiend. Now, with the Rain Dragon Guard's trial, he had pushed back his plan to kill Northmont Fox. Unexpectedly, Northmont Fox actually dared to attack again. The trial is no longer important. Northmont Fox, you still dare to annoy me? You will definitely die. No one will be able to save you. Qi Hung's heart was filled with fury, and his eyes were filled with a cold light. Rumble. Within the realm-sealing formation, an earth-shattering sea of flames rose up. 100-meter-long fire dragon wriggled within the flames. On top of the fire dragon's head, a figure with a head full of flying red hair and raging flames stood proudly. A vast and majestic aura covered the heavens and earth. I am Blazing Shinjun. The figure with raging flames stood in the air, and a pair of fiery eyes stared coldly at Qi Hung. I heard you killed the blood demon Old Ghost in one battle. I want to see just how strong you are. An itinerant immortal? Shi-hung looked up at this so-called blazing Shinjun and frowned slightly. From the aura he sensed, this blazing Shinjun was even stronger than the blood demon Old Ghost. More importantly, where's the other one? Not coming out? Shi-hung turned his head to look at the air to his left and sneered. What? 2 itinerant immortals besieging me, and you plan to hide and ambush me? Oomph. You think you need to besiege me? Do you even need me to ambush you? A cold laugh resounded, and a gale howled. A skinny old man appeared in the gale. I'm Blazing Gale Shinjun. The skinny old man glanced at Shi-hung disdainfully. Don't think that you're amazing just because you killed an itinerant immortal like the blood demon Old Ghost. We're not trash like the blood demon Old Ghost. Big brother, leave it to me. Blazing Shinjun glanced at Blazing Shinjun, and then turned his head to look at Shi-hung. Kid, I'll let you see just how strong the itinerant immortals of the Orthodox Taoism are. We've seen the video of you killing an essence soul venerable in one strike. Your strongest point is your strength, pure strength. But we're itinerant immortals of the Orthodox Taoism. Our essence souls are formless. So what if you're strong? You can't hurt us in the slightest, and we can kill you with a wave of our hand. Blazing Shinjun waved his hand, and a huge fire dragon beneath his feet soared into the sky. Raging flames, capable of burning everything, swept towards Shi-hung from all directions. I can't hurt you in the slightest? Shi-hung chuckled. Then let's try it. A dark golden steel whip appeared in his hand, and a dense power of the earth surged within his body. Hun Yuan, mount a moving whip. The earth mystic golden whip in his hand was raised high, and suddenly smashed down. Boom! An enormous power, an extreme power, a power capable of destroying mountains, erupted from the earth mystic golden whip. With a single strike, the fire dragon that was 100 feet long exploded, turning into a rain of fire that rained down from the sky. To be able to shatter my fire dragon, your strength is indeed extraordinary. Unfortunately, this fire dragon isn't a spell, nor is it an ability. It's a part of my essence soul venerable. Blazing Shinjun sneered and extended a finger. The essence soul venerable is formless. So what if you shatter it? With a wave of his hand, the rain of fire that filled the sky instantly condensed. Amidst the raging flames, the fire dragon materialized once again. Do you see it? This is the itinerant immortal of the Orthodox Taoism. The essence soul venerable is formless. Your attack is completely useless. Blazing Shinjun pointed at Shi-hung and curled his lips. You can only die. Chapter 1139. The essence spirit Dharma idol was formless and could be illusory or real. In essence, the existence of a loose immortal was similar to a special energy life form. This was the loose immortal of the Orthodox Taoism. Although the blood demon Old Ghost was known as the blood demon will not die as long as the blood sea is not destroyed, he was still not an energy life form. His body was condensed from blood and was indeed inferior to those of the Orthodox Taoism. Kid, accept your fate. Blazing Shinjun waved his hand, and a huge fire dragon coiled up like a snake. You should be honored to die under my immortal art. The body of the raging fire god floated up and landed on the top of the hovering fire dragon's head. Under the intertwining flames, the head of the fire dragon and the limbs below the waist of the raging fire god merged into one. As the flames surged, Blazing Shinjun turned into a monster with a human head and a dragon's body. God of fire, incinerate all things. Blazing Shinjun, with a human head and a dragon's body, clasped his hands together, and a blazing white flame rushed towards Shi-hung like a volcanic eruption. The intense heat seemed to have even melted the void. The white flame rushed out, and an obvious fire mark was drawn in the air. At this moment, the entire mountain enveloped by the sealed world formation instantly melted into a sea of hot magma. Everything was incinerated, and everything was turned into ashes. This was the true strength of an orthodox, loose immortal. The strength of a loose immortal is indeed extraordinary. This attack caused Chi Hung to lose his calm demeanor. Then let's have a good fight. A vast yellow light rushed up, and the vigorous power of the earth suddenly erupted. Chi Hung's body suddenly expanded. Body of the earth. Heaven-earth transformation. Chi Hung turned into a 1,000-foot-tall giant flickering with yellow light. He soared into the air, and the earth mystic golden whip in his hand, which had also expanded to a length of several hundred feet, was like a huge pillar. He raised it up high and smashed it down. What's the use of brute force? Blazing Shunjun didn't care about Chi Heng's counterattack at all. The essence spirit Dharma idol could be said to be a type of energy life form. For this kind of formless energy life form, a pure physical attack was completely meaningless. But who said Chi Heng's power was purely physical? The power of the earth was thick and heavy. It looked like it had boundless strength. However, the essence of Chi Heng's power was the earth, not pure physical power. Chaos Heaven Flipping Whip. As the whip smashed down, it was as if it had lifted up the entire earth, reversing heaven and earth, covering the sky with the earth. This wasn't a pure physical attack, but a divine ability. Boom! Under this whip, the boundless earth covered the entire sky. And then, the sky collapsed. Even sand could put out a fire, let alone the entire earth. Boom! It was as if the sky was collapsing. The endless power of the earth came crashing down, smashing onto the head of raging fire, Shinjun. Second brother. Seeing this, Lai Feng Shinjuan's expression changed, and he immediately cried out in shock. He waved his hands, causing a boundless gale to howl as a tornado rushed into the sky. Obstructed by the wind, the speed at which the earth force smashed down slowed down. Damn it! Taking advantage of this opportunity, Raging Inferno Shinjuan's figure exploded, transforming into a streak of fiery light that rushed out, dodging this attack. Let's work together. Originally, he didn't quite approve of Chi Heng's battle record of killing the blood demon Old Ghost, but at this moment, he almost suffered a great loss. Raging Inferno Shanjun didn't care about face and directly joined forces to attack. Okay. Lai Feng Shinjun leaped to Raging Fire Shinjuan's side, and the two formed hand seals at the same time. Fusion of wind and fire, Raging Flame Storm. Flames raged in the sky, and boundless winds howled. At this moment, the wind and flames merged into one, and the fire borrowed the wind's momentum to transform into a boundless and violent Raging Flame Storm. Compared to Raging Inferno Shinjuan's attack, the Raging Flame Storm, unleashed by the two of them working together, was several times more powerful. Under this Raging Flame Storm, everything within the realm-sealing formation was swept up, including the magma on the ground, into the storm. Violent. Destruction. This burst of power was like the end of the world. The two itinerant immortals worked together to unleash a joint attack. This power was simply unstoppable. The Wind Immortals and Fire Immortals were famous figures in the entire cultivation world of Great Xia. Although they weren't very strong individually, when the two of them worked together, ordinary Earth Immortals wouldn't be able to withstand it. Chi Hung couldn't withstand it either. Even if he revealed the true form of the Yellow Bear, his Earth body, which had just begun to develop, hadn't grown to the point where he could withstand this attack. Kid, this is our power. Don't think you're so great just because you killed the blood demon Old Ghost. In our eyes, you're still just an ant. The Raging Flame Storm swept out, and everything in the sealed realm would be melted by this power, and everything would cease to exist. Even Earth Immortals couldn't withstand this destructive power. Chi Hung, a peerless genius who could kill the blood demon Old Ghost, seemed to have no choice but to die with regret. However, in the face of this unstoppable power, Chi Hung laughed. Who said I'm going to block it? The vigorous power of the earth surged, and yellow light exploded violently. Roar! Amidst the flickering yellow light, a huge yellow bear appeared. The true form of the Lord of the Earth was once again revealed to the world. So it's a demon? So what if it's a demon? It's still going to die. The raging flame, Shunjun roared with a ferocious expression. You know what? You've made a fatal mistake. A strange smile appeared on the yellow bear's face, and its white teeth glinted coldly. In its huge bear paw, the pillar-like earth mystic gold whip was raised in front of it, and it pointed at the raging flame storm that could destroy everything like a natural disaster. You shouldn't have sucked the lava into the tornado. How dare you play with lava in front of the Lord of the Earth? A yellow light burst out of the pillar-like earth mystic gold whip and rushed toward the raging flame storm like a bolt of lightning. In the name of Hun Yuan, lava solidifies. Wielding the power of the earth, his words were law. As soon as he finished speaking, the lava in the raging flame storm instantly solidified into a huge and hard stone pillar. What would happen to the rapidly spinning raging flame storm if it was suddenly frozen? Boom! With an earth-shattering explosion, the raging flame storm and the raging flame storm instantly exploded. The ultimate technique that the raging flame Shinjun and the raging wind Shunjun relied on to dominate the world was suddenly broken just like that. Puffed, with their Dharma spells broken, the raging flame Shinjun and the raging wind Shinjun immediately suffered a violent backlash, and a mouthful of, not blood, but primordial spirit essence violently sprayed out. After losing this mouthful of primordial spirit purification, their primordial spirit Dharma idols weakened. Hun Yuan, Earth overturning whip. I'll take your life while you're down. Chi Hung transformed into the yellow bear and swung the raging flame mystic gold whip. The dense power of the earth surged, and yellow light filled the sky. This strike seemed to have overturned the entire earth. Boundless power of the earth gathered, and whether it was wind or fire, they were all buried and annihilated by the earth. Boom! With a violent explosion, the earth quaked and the mountains shook. The wind immortals and fire immortals were destroyed by Chi Hing, just like that. Chapter 1140. The wind and flames were extinguished, leaving behind only a towering stone pillar. Apart from that, there are also 2 storage treasures floating in the air. The accumulated wealth of 2 veteran itinerant immortals won't disappoint me. With a wave of his hand, the 2 storage rings landed in Chi Heng's hand. The wind immortals and fire immortals were dead, and their nascent spirit brands in the storage rings had dissipated. Chi Heng easily opened them. As expected, they're quite wealthy. Inside the storage ring, there is a huge pile of yuan liquefied essence and yuan coins in the huge space. There are also all sorts of treasures and pills. Altogether, they were worth at least a few dozen million caddies of liquefied essence. I've made a small profit. Chi Hung smiled. Killing the wind immortals and earning a few dozen million was not a waste of effort. There's something like this in Shunjun Liefeng's storage ring. With a wave of his hand, Chi Hung took out a sealed crystal ball from Shunjun Liefeng's storage ring. The crystal ball was pure and transparent. It looked like an ordinary crystal, as if there was nothing inside. However, with Hun Yuan Autarka's insight, there was no way he couldn't tell what it was. Formless divine wind. This is a sealed strand of formless divine wind. Chi Hung smiled as he looked at the crystal ball. Formless divine wind is formless and formless. This is an excellent material for cultivating a second nascent spirit. Before one's nascent spirit returned to the void and became an earth immortal, they could still split their nascent spirit and cultivate a second nascent spirit. However, after becoming an earth immortal, they could only split their bodies and not cultivate a second nascent spirit. The Lifeng Patriarch probably wants to reincarnate and cultivate again. Chi Hung shook his head with a smile. If you hadn't attacked me, you would have had a chance to reincarnate. Now it's all for naught. Chi Hung didn't plan on cultivating a second nascent spirit. However, the formless divine wind was also a very useful treasure to Chi Hung. The ambush by the wind immortals and fire immortals definitely wasn't a coincidence. The mastermind must be Northmont Fox, but they were able to accurately track my movements and set up an ambush here in advance. Hee hee. The realm sealing formation dissipated, and Qi Hung strode out of the realm's ceiling formation. He raised his head to stare at the Rain Dragon Guard encampment in the wild marshes of the Jail Mountains, and a cold light flashed through his eyes. I came here to train, and the Wind and Fire Immortals just happened to set up an ambush here. I'm afraid it's not that simple. Although the training grounds of the Rain Dragon Guard were virtually open to the public, and the matter of Qi Hung joining the Rain Dragon Guard was also virtually open to the public. Through these two pieces of public information, Northmont Fox could indeed easily deduce that Qi Hung would definitely come to the wild marshes of the Jail Mountains to participate in the trial. It wasn't impossible for him to have sent people to lie in ambush here. But could everything be so coincidental? If the Rain Dragon Guard really did betray me, they would definitely have to contact the Wind Immortals and Fire Immortals. Maybe we can find some clues in their storage rings. Qi Hung took out the Wind and Flame Immortal storage rings and carefully searched through them. With this search, he really did find a message talisman. She didn't know if it was because she was very confident in her own strength and felt that the two of them could completely kill Qi Hung if they joined forces. The Wind Immortals and Flame Immortals messaging talismans didn't even erase their messages. He's here. He sent a bit of spiritual energy into the message talisman, and a coarse voice rang out. Qin Gang. When Qi Hung heard this voice, he immediately identified its origin. Qin Gang, that seemingly boorish, bold, and unsophisticated man, turned out to be hiding so deeply. A cold glint flashed through Qi Hang's eyes. Traitors are even more detestable than enemies. Qi Hung turned around and flew toward the Rain Dragon Guard encampment in the wild marshes of the Jail Mountains. Not long after, Qi Hung found a mountaintop and landed 1,000 kilometers away from the Rain Dragon Guard encampment. If I want to kill Qin Gang and Northmont Fox, I need to think of a way. With a wave of his hand, Qi Hung opened up a cave abode on the cliff and entered it. He sealed the door and took out the formless divine wind. With my current strength, I don't have the right to run amok. Whether it's killing Qin Gang or Northmont Fox, I can't openly kill them. Qin Gang was a commander of the Rain Dragon Guard and was stationed in the wild marshes of the Jail Mountains. If he wanted to kill Qin Gang, he would have to enter the Rain Dragon Guard encampment. No matter how powerful Qi Hung was, he wasn't stupid enough to attack the Rain Dragon Guard encampment. The Rain Dragon Guard represented the Great Xia dynasty. Attacking the Rain Dragon Guard encampment was challenging the Great Xia dynasty's prestige. With his current strength, he didn't have the right to disregard the Great Xia dynasty. Northmont Fox was the same. Qi Hung couldn't afford to offend the Marquis of Antan's estate. So, Gale Shinjuan's formless divine wind is just right for me. With a wave of his hand, Qi Hung released the earthly furnace and tossed the formless divine wind into the furnace. I refined the formless divine wind into a magical treasure. With the power of the formless divine wind, I can transform into a breeze and silently sneak in. He struck out one spell after another. The earthly furnace shone brightly, and a gust of wind began to swirl between heaven and earth. Absorb. A ray of light shot out, and the swirling gust of wind howled and fell into Qi Hang's hand, transforming into a command talisman as clear as colored glass. Very good. I've already mastered the formless divine wind. It's time to settle accounts with them. Spiritual energy surged into the talisman, and a formless gust of wind began to swirl. Qi Hang's body instantly turned invisible and drifted away with the gust of wind. He merged into the wind, seemingly becoming a part of it, formless, traceless, and soundless. This was the unique characteristic of the formless divine wind. Within the Rain Dragon Guard encampment, in the hearts of the Rain Dragon Guard soldiers, Qin Gang, who oversaw the desolate marshes of the Jail Mountains, was a boorish, heroic, and righteous commander. However, this valiant, righteous man wasn't completely selfless. I've been stuck at the peak of the primal divinity stage for many years. Without a peerless stroke of fortune, perhaps I'll never be able to break through in this lifetime. Qin Gang took a big gulp of wine, then let out a long, wine-scented breath. Primal divinity, earth immortal. Earth immortal. From now on, you will be free and unfettered in the world, and you will live forever. Northmont Fox gave me a set of insights into the Tao of the Vajra, which is completely compatible with my own cultivation. So long as I absorb this set of insights, I'll be able to become an immortal. All I need to do is send a message, and I'll be able to obtain this kind of fortune. This kind of thing, who would miss it? Who would miss it? Qin Gang tossed aside the wine flask in his hand and took a deep breath. Every man for himself. Qi Hung, why can't I use your life to complete my immortal path to the heavens? So what did I do wrong? A gust of wind blew in from outside the window, causing the candlelight in the room to sway. Under the flickering candlelight, Qin Gang's boorish, black face revealed a strange malevolence. Yes, you didn't do anything wrong. A voice that caused Qin Gang's face to be filled with shock came from the gust of wind. The formless gust of wind blew in, and Qin Gang felt his throat tighten. An enormous force tightly gripped his neck like an iron clamp. It has nothing to do with right or wrong, only with life and death. The enormous force suddenly exploded, and with a bang, Qin Gang's entire body instantly exploded into a bloody mist. Chapter 1141. Qin Gang is dead. All that's left is Northmont Fox. A breeze drifted out, and Qi Hang's figure disappeared into the wind. A moment later, he returned to the desolate marshes of the Jail Mountains. The desolate marshes of the Jail Mountains are too far from Anton Commandery City. It'll take too much time to fly back and forth. I need to set up a teleportation array. As Prime Hun Yuan, Qi Hung naturally knew how to set up a teleportation array. With the storage rings of the Wind Immortals and Fire Immortals, he had enough materials to set up one. Activating an Earth Escape technique, Qi Hung burrowed underground and found a place where the spirit energy of the Earth veins gathered. He began setting up a teleportation array. It's different from the spatial arrays of today. My teleportation array uses Earth veins. The power of the Earth surged and condensed into a stone platform above the Earth veins. Qi Hung took out the Earth Profound Gold Whip and began carving on the stone platform. With a wave of his hand, he took out all sorts of materials and began carving runes on the array. An hour later, a temporary teleportation array was completed. Northmont Fox, this seat is coming. Stepping onto the teleportation array, Qi Hang's figure disappeared as the Earth Veins' spirit energy surged. In Anton Commandery City, beneath the inn Qi Hung had once stayed in, the Earth Veins' spirit energy stirred, and Qi Hung appeared. The teleportation arrays of this era only use spatial teleportation. No one will be able to see through my Earth Vein spiritual Qi transmission technique. Qi Hung smiled and set up another teleportation formation in the depths of the ground. Only then did he silently emerge from the ground using an Earth Escape technique. A breeze blew and Qi Hang's figure drifted past. Northmont Fox, it's time for you to die. Qi Hung turned into the breeze and silently drifted toward Northmont Fox's estate. In the western district of Anton Commandery City, there were many beautiful and luxurious mansions that occupied vast areas. Those who lived in these mansions were all important figures of Anton Commandery City. Northmont Fox's estate was in this area. A moment later, a breeze blew past and entered a majestic and luxurious mansion. There really is a protective array here. Unfortunately, there isn't any array that can seal off the wind of nature. The array's protection was against unnatural forces. Normal sunlight, rain, dew, wind, frost, rain, and snow were not sealed. Perhaps only Qi Hung would be willing to refine a treasure like the formless divine wind into a magic treasure that could only merge with the wind of nature. It eliminated all other powers of the formless divine wind, turning a supreme treasure into a magic treasure that could only merge into the wind of nature. It was like everyone knew that money could be used as firewood, but would anyone do that? Qi Hung became a part of the natural wind when he merged with the cool breeze. Similarly, the speed of movement would depend on how strong the wind was. At this moment, The night wind was very light, so Chi-hung could only drift slowly with the breeze. Northmont Fox's father, Northmont, lives up to his reputation as the next Marquis of Anton. His home is no different from a dragon's lair or a tiger's den. As the wind blew past, Chi-hung clearly sensed extremely powerful auras. Chi-hung noticed that there were at least 6 earthly immortals or itinerant immortals in the entire estate. The entire estate was covered by an immortal formation, and there were 6 loose immortals guarding it. If he wanted to kill Northmont Fox, he would have to be extremely careful. Once his tracks were exposed, no matter how powerful Chi-hung was, he would definitely die. Is Northmont Fox over there? After drifting with the wind for a while, Chi-hung finally found Northmont Fox's tracks. On the left side of the estate, there was a magnificent waterside pavilion by a small lake. At this moment, Northmont Fox was sitting in the main hall of the pavilion, drinking with others. A group of singers danced gracefully in the hall, accompanied by the sound of strings and bamboo. Young Master Northmont, what orders do you have for summoning us? A youth dressed in a blood-red robe bowed towards Northmont Fox and asked this question. Of course it's something good. Northmont Fox chuckled and put down his wine cup. He glanced at the 2 below him. A noble is coming to our Anton County to gain experience. Due to the rules of the family, this noble cannot bring too many subordinates. Shuehongi, Buyu, this young master recommends you to serve this noble. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Noble? Shuehongi and Buyu were both startled. If even someone like young Master Northmont had to refer to this person as a noble, then this person had to have an unimaginably powerful background. To be able to serve this sort of noble, even if it was only as a temporary subordinate, was still a peerless stroke of fortune. As long as they performed well, this noble would be pleased and casually bestow upon them some gifts. That would be a boundless benefit. Thank you, young master. Thank you, young master. The 2 were filled with joy, and they hurriedly bowed and thanked Northmont Fox. Northmont Fox nodded calmly. Remember, you absolutely cannot disobey this noble. If you anger this noble, this young master, will be in deep trouble. Understood? Yes. Yes. Shuehongi and Buyu hurriedly nodded, their hearts growing even more cautious. We haven't confirmed when this noble will arrive, but at the latest, he will arrive in a month or 2. After you go down, make some preparations. Find someone to learn the etiquette of serving this noble. Don't lose face for me. Northmont Fox instructed the 2, a solemn look on his face. Yes. We'll go make the preparations right away. And then, Shuehongi and Buyu bowed and left. The Young Flame Clan, one of the most powerful clans in the world. The title of the Young Flame Clan is the Godplume Duke. Aside from the Imperial Clan, this is the most exalted existence in the entire Grand Xia. Northmont Fox waved his hand, dismissing the courtesans within the waterside pavilion. Picking up his cup of wine, he walked to the railing of the waterside pavilion. Leaning against the railing, he raised his cup of wine. Northmont Fox, when will I be able to reach that position? You'll never have the chance. Just as Northmont Fox was sighing, he suddenly heard a cold voice by his ear. Who? Northmont Fox was shocked. Before he could even let out a curse, he felt an enormous, boundless force smash down upon his body like Mount Tai. Bang! With an explosive sound, Northmont Fox's entire body exploded into a bloody mist. He died so cleanly and quietly that not even a speck of dust remained. Who is it? Just now, when Northmont Fox had been killed, even the slightest disturbance had alerted the immortals within the estate. My son. Immediately after, a furious roar soared into the sky. A figure wearing a black robe and a golden crown on his head, emitting a powerful aura and surging ferocious aura, let out a sorrowful cry and charged toward the waterside pavilion. Activate the formation. One streak of golden light after another shot out. In the blink of an eye, the entire estate was covered by a dazzling golden screen of light. Patriarch, what's going on? One streak of light after another howled through the air. In the blink of an eye, 6 loose immortals, 30-plus primal adepts, and more than 100 Wanxiang adepts all charged towards the waterside pavilion. My son is dead. Someone assassinated my son. Northmont Een pointed at the pool of blood by the railing of the waterside pavilion, utterly enraged. Someone actually snuck into the estate and assassinated my son. You are immortals, but you aren't even able to protect the estate? Snuck into the estate and assassinated him? The 6 loose immortals and the other cultivators all looked at each other, their faces filled with shock. Someone had actually been able to pass through the grand formation, hide from the senses of the 6 loose immortals, and sneak into the estate to assassinate Northmont Fox? Only a celestial immortal would be capable of such a thing. But why would a celestial immortal need to assassinate Northmont Fox? Chapter 1142. Search. Search carefully. Don't let go of any clues. Northmont Fox had been assassinated right under the noses of the loose immortals. No matter what, it was these people who had failed to protect him. The 6 loose immortals soared into the air and released their divine souls to sense. They continuously used all kinds of investigative Dharma formations and swept the entire mansion inside and out. However, they still didn't find any clues. Patriarch, we didn't find anything. That person probably left long ago. The 6 loose immortals landed on the ground and reported to Northmont Een with a bow. Patriarch, this matter. I'm afraid it's not normal. A loose immortal in a black robe cupped his hands towards Northmont Een. Whether it's the seal of the Grand Array or our perception, we didn't find anyone infiltrating. They came without a trace and left without a trace. The situation, unless what? Northmont Een turned to look at this person and roared furiously. Unless it's a sky immortal. The black-robed cultivator replied with a grave expression. Sky immortal? If you're looking for an excuse, at least come up with a better one. Is there a need to assassinate a sky immortal? Northmont Een pointed at the black-robed loose immortal and roared furiously. Patriarch, we're useless. The 6 loose immortals sighed and lowered their heads in unison. Useless. Just as he was about to continue scolding, Northmont Een suddenly thought of something. He took a deep breath and suppressed the roar in his heart. Something happened to who and it messed up my mind. I spoke insolently just now. Please don't blame me. The ambitious and ruthless Northmont Een naturally knew that his son was already dead. However, these loose immortals were his assistants, and he still had to rely on them in the future. He couldn't be disloyal. Patriarch, you're too polite. This matter is indeed a dereliction of our duty. 6 loose immortals were overseeing the mansion, but someone had actually infiltrated and assassinated their young master. This made them very embarrassed. This matter is indeed inconceivable. However, it shouldn't be a sky immortal. After calming down, Northmont Een quickly sorted out his thoughts. Although my son seems arrogant, he's actually intelligent. He definitely wouldn't easily offend a sky immortal expert. Moreover, why would a sky immortal need to assassinate someone? If he was a celestial immortal expert, why would he need to carry out such an assassination? Even if Patriarch Tuashan of the Marquisate of Anton was a celestial immortal, in the end, he would still have to sacrifice Northmont Fox to quell the rage of the celestial immortal. Find out who has been in conflict with recently. Investigate them one by one. I'd rather kill the wrong person than let them go. Northmont Een snorted coldly. This person is definitely not a celestial immortal. The only possibility was that he possessed a unique treasure of the celestial immortal level, which allowed him to sneak into the mansion. Carefully investigate the people who have enmity with who are. You must find the murderer. Yes. Everyone bowed and accepted the order. Patriarch, I have something to report to you. The black-robed loose immortal hesitated for a moment, then cupped his hands towards Beishan Een. Patriarch, while you were cultivating in seclusion, I was unable to find any clues. Young Master Fox. He had a conflict with a cultivator called Chi Hung. Fellow Taoist Blood Devil is dead. Then, 2 days ago, fellow Taoist Lai Feng and Lai Hua also went out and haven't returned yet. Beishan Yin's eyes widened. Chi Hung, blood demon, was dead? Die in Chi Hung's hands? What's the background of this Chi Hung? Patriarch. This Chi Hung comes from a small tribe on Mount Yen. He calls himself Old Demon Black Mountain and has a cultivation at the Manifestation Realm. He's a teenager. In the Heavenly Treasure Pavilion, Chi Hung had a gambling match with young Master Fox. He killed the Meng clan's patriarch with one strike, thus forming a grudge with young Master Fox. Then, young Master Fox sent Blood Demon to attack and was killed by Chi Hung. In the past 2 days, Chi Hung entered the desolate swamps of the Jail Mountains to participate in the Rain Dragon Guard trials. Young Master Fox then sent fellow Taoists Lai Feng and Lai Hua. The black-robed loose immortal hastily recounted the grudge between Northmont Fox and Chi Hung, a teenager at the Manifestation Realm. He killed an essence soul venerable and blood demon. Beishan Yin's face was filled with shock, and it took him a while to regain his composure. Whoever did the right thing. Since we've offended such a peerless genius, we must kill him before he matures. Looking at his subordinates, an icy glint appeared in Beishan Yin's eyes. The one who assassinated who must be this Chi Hung. The murderer is Chi Hung. Go, capture him and bring him back. Patriarch, right now, Chi Hung is still undergoing trials in the desolate swamps of the Jail Mountains, the black-robed, loose immortal reminded him. Trials? Since he can sneak into the estate without being discovered by you and leave without being discovered by anyone, can't he sneak out of the desolate swamps of the Jail Mountains? Beishanin snorted and waved his hand. Come, follow me to the Rain Dragon Guard's encampment. A member of the Rain Dragon Guard killed a disciple of the Marquis of Antan's estate. I'd like to see if Han Ting still dares to shield him. At his command, Beishan led his subordinates out of the estate in a hurry. To leave, the formation that sealed off the entire estate naturally had to be activated. And then, if you don't go out and activate the formation, I'll really be trapped here by you. Chi Hung smiled and took advantage of the moment the formation was activated to float out of the estate with the wind. You want to find me at the Rain Dragon Guard? Humph. If the Rain Dragon Guard still can't protect me, even though I have an alibi, then the Rain Dragon Guard doesn't need to exist anymore. Chi Hung let out a cold laugh. His figure floated by with the wind as he soundlessly returned to the inn and silently slipped underground. Earthline Teleportation Array. This is my unique teleportation method. Stepping into the teleportation array, the spiritual energy of the Earthlines surged slightly, and Chi Heng's figure instantly disappeared. Afterwards, this single-use teleportation array instantly collapsed and melted into the earth, leaving not a single trace behind. When he reappeared, Chi Hung had already arrived at the desolate swamps of the Jail Mountains, where he had battled the Wind Immortals and Flame Immortals. I was ambushed by 2 loose immortals. No matter how much of a genius I am, I was still heavily injured after killing 2 loose immortals. I could only find a place to recuperate. Chi Hung chuckled. I was heavily injured. How could I go out and assassinate? Whether it's Northmont Fox's death or Qin Gang's death, it definitely has nothing to do with me. With a wave of his hand, the spiritual energy in Chi Heng's body became utterly chaotic, and the starry sky within his Zifu Dantian began to tremble. When I was still Autar Kunyuan, I experienced countless hardships and fought my way out, narrowly escaping death countless times. My ability to feign death, it's hard to tell if I'm real or fake. Of course, this was all a facade. Chi Hung was confident that no one in this era would be able to see through his Earth Chaotic Disorder technique. However, I can't entrust the safety of my life to others. Chi Hung raised his head and looked towards the depths of the desolate swamps of the Jail Mountains. When he saw the gigantic spatial rifts, a smile appeared on his lips. With my current strength, it's still rather dangerous for me to go to the outer realms. However, if I have no other choice, this is also a path of retreat. Sitting cross-legged on the ground, Chi Hung chaotically set up an ordinary ceiling formation. A cloud of mist appeared and concealed Chi Hung. Then, the pale and half-dead Chi Hung sat cross-legged on the ground with great difficulty and pretended to be recovering from his injuries. Boom! There is a loud explosion in the distant void as figures with vast auras howled over. Sensing this movement, Chi Hung smiled faintly. Next, it's the critical moment. General Han Ting, I hope you won't disappoint me. Chapter 1143. Beishan, if you want a confrontation, I'll bring you here for a confrontation. As the air trembled, the golden-armored General Han furiously strode out of the transportation formation. If you can't find evidence, and slander me. Humph, the Rain Dragon Guard isn't to be trifled with. Your Rain Dragon Guard isn't to be trifled with, but my Anton estate is to be bullied? Beishan angrily snorted and flung his sleeves, stepping out of the transportation formation with Han Ting. General, you're here. Just as Han Ting and Beishan stepped out of the transportation formation, a middle-aged man in armor anxiously greeted them. Tan Yun? It's you. Han Ting glanced at the newcomer and nodded. Then, he asked with displeasure, Where's Qin Gang? Why hasn't he come to see me? As the commander of the Rain Dragon Guard, Qin Gang didn't show himself at this time and sent Deputy General Tan Yun over instead. This didn't make sense. General, this matter. Vice General Tan Yun looked at Han Ting with a panicked expression, then glanced at Beishan and said vaguely, Something happened to Qin Gang. HM. Han Ting raised a brow as a cold glint flashed through his eyes. He turned to look at Beishan. Brother Beishan, please wait for a moment. After greeting Beishan, Han Ting followed Deputy General Tan Yun into Qin Gang's residence. The room was dyed in blood. It seemed to scatter with the wind as fresh blood sprinkled throughout the room like a drizzle. General, this is the only thing I saw when I came to find Commander Qin this morning. Last night, the camp's sentries and defensive formation didn't discover anything out of the ordinary. Deputy General Tan Yun reported to Han Ting. I understand. Han Ting's expression darkened as he looked at the blood splattered throughout the room. He nodded. I will take care of this matter. How dare they kill my Rain Dragon Guard? Are they rebelling? The Rain Dragon Guards, who oversaw the various counties, represented the great Xia dynasty's rule. Unlike the external guards in name, the internal guards of the regular army were the great Xia dynasty's army. Han Ting expressionlessly walked out of Qin Gang's residence and met up with Beishan at the plaza in the middle of the camp. General Han, isn't it time to confront Chi Hung? Seeing that Han Ting had returned, Beishan said with an unhappy expression. Chi Hung. Han Ting looked up at the desolate swamp of the Jail Mountains, a complicated expression flashing through his eyes. He exhaled deeply and thought to himself, Chi Hung, I hope this has nothing to do with you. Murdering a Rain Dragon Guard commander is a capital crime. Let's go and confront Chi Hung. Han Ting turned his head and glanced at Beishan. A streak of light soared into the air, flying towards the desolate swamps of the Jail Mountains. Very good. Northmont nodded. He also rose into the air, following Han Ting into the wild marshes of the Jail Mountains. He's over there. With Han Ting's Earth Immortal Realm cultivation base, he released his divine will and quickly discovered Qi Hang's aura, as well as the abnormality there. Over there, why is the aura so abnormal? In Han Ting's senses, the spirit energy of heaven and earth where Qi Hang was located was in chaos, and there was still a powerful wind and fire energy remaining in the air. What's going on? Feeling puzzled, Han Ting flew even faster than before. Not long after, the scene in front of him entered Han Ting's eyes. It was a scorched earth with a radius of nearly 50 kilometers. The entire earth seemed to have been ravaged by flames and wild winds, leaving behind only a scorched earth. In the center of this earth, a stone pillar with a radius of half a kilometer towered into the clouds. Beneath the stone pillar was a cloud of fog, and Qi Hang's figure flickered in and out of the fog. Raging flame storm, the wind and fire immortals. Seeing this, Han Ting immediately thought of the famous itinerant immortals in the Anton Commandery. More importantly, according to the Rain Dragon Guard's intelligence, the wind and fire immortals were very close to Beishan. Beishan, what's going on? Han Ting pointed at the messy ground in front of him and looked at Beishan with an icy expression. Aren't the desolate swamps of the Jail Mountains where your Rain Dragon Guard is stationed? Why are you asking about me? How would I know what's going on? Beishan Yin's pupils constricted when he saw the scene in front of him, and he was inwardly shocked. He naturally knew what was going on. The wind and fire immortals were sent by Beishan Fox to ambush Qi Hung. Han Ting snorted and stared at Beishan Yin. You still suspect Qi Hung of assassinating Beishan Fox? The situation in front of you is clear at a glance, yet you still want to confront him? It was clearly the wind and fire immortals who came to ambush Qi Hung. It was clearly the two of you who assassinated him, yet you're the guilty party complaining first? Fury roiled in Han Ting's heart. Of course I want to confront him. Beishan Yin flung his sleeves and viciously glared at Han Ting. General Han, are you obstructing the seat? An external guard, your Rain Dragon Guard, is suspected of assassinating a disciple of the Anton Marquis estate, yet you want to obstruct this seat from confronting him? What are your intentions? What intentions do I have? Good, good. Han Ting suppressed the fury in his heart. Beishan Yin, if you want to confront him, I'll let you confront him. I'd like to see what else you have to say. Han Ting and Beishan Yin landed on the ground and arrived in front of the fog formation Qi Hung had set up. Hiding in the formation? Then summon him out. Beishan Yin waved his hand, and an icy light shot out and fiercely swept toward the fog formation. Bastard! You dare! Han Ting roared and waved his hand. A pitch-black shield flew out of his hand and blocked the cold light. Boom! With an explosion, a violent shockwave suddenly surged. Fierce wind swept through, blowing sand and stones. Crack! The violent shockwave swept through, and the fog formation shattered. The situation inside the formation was revealed to the two. The person sitting cross-legged in the middle of the formation was Qi Hung. His face was pale, and his breathing was weak. The true Qi in his body was chaotic, and his purple mansion starry sky was on the verge of collapse. PFFF, as if disturbed by the aftermath of the battle just now. Qi Hung opened his mouth and spat out a mouthful of blood. His face was completely drained of color, and his body swayed, about to collapse. Beishan Yin, you're courting death. Seeing Qi Hung's condition, Han Ting flew into a rage and hastily rushed over. He took out a pill and stuffed it into Qi Hung's mouth. Phew! Han Ting's healing pills were very effective. In just a moment, Qi Hung, who was on the verge of death, had already recovered a bit. General, you're here? The pale-faced Qi Hung wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and asked Han Ting in confusion, General, why did two itinerant immortals ambush me during the Rain Dragon Guard trial? I almost didn't survive. Don't worry, I'll give you an explanation. Han Ting released Qi Hung and turned to stare at Beishan Yin. Beishan Yin, did you see that? How could he fly hundreds of thousands of kilometers back to Anton Commandery City to assassinate Beishan Fox, and then rush back from Anton Commandery City? Also, you dared to attack Qi Hung in front of me just now. Do you think I, Han Ting, am a pushover? A vast aura surged into the sky. Han Ting waved his hand, and a large black shield appeared in his left hand and a large axe in his right. Beishan Yin, you're not the heir apparent of Anton Marquis, but so what if you are? If you don't give me an explanation today, I'll chop you up with my axe. As expected, General Han didn't disappoint me. Qi Hung snickered inwardly. My hard work in acting wasn't in vain. Life is like a play, and everything depends on acting skills. Chapter 1144. You're still asking me for an explanation? Beishan Yin's eyes glinted coldly as he stared at Han Ting. My son is dead. Do you hear me? My son is dead. An icy light shot out, and an enormous dragon condensed from ice and frost charged out from Beishan Yin's head. It circled in the air, and icy air emanated from it as if it wanted to freeze everything. Recently, he's the only one who has a grudge with my son. Pointing at Qi Hung, Beishan Yin's eyes were filled with boundless killing intent. If it wasn't him, then who was it? Not just anyone can kill a disciple of the Anton Marquis estate. This seat will investigate this matter to the end. Not just anyone can kill a member of the Yinglong Guard. Han Ting raised his axe and pointed it at Bei Shanin. If you want to investigate this matter to the end, then this general will also investigate this matter to the end. The wind and fire immortals actually came to ambush my Yinglong Guard's trial. This matter won't end here. All right, since everyone wants to investigate this matter, the method is very simple. Bei Shanin pointed at Qi Heng. Whether or not my son was assassinated by him, we just need to soul search him, and everything will be clear. Soul search. Qi Heng's brows twitched when he heard this, and an ominous feeling rose in his heart. As long as the soul-searching technique in this world was executed properly, it wouldn't turn someone into a fool. If Han Ting accepted Bei Shanyin's suggestion, then this matter would be very troublesome. Soul search? Bei Shanin, you're courting death. Han Ting raised his axe, and a vast golden light shot into the sky. Are you blind? Can't you see his current condition? His true essence is in chaos, and his purple mansion constellation is on the verge of collapse. He only has half a breath left. Tell me, under these circumstances, what method do you have to rush back to Anton Commandery City in one night? Break through the Manor Protection Array, break through the protection of 6 itinerant immortals, assassinate Beishan Fox, and then rush back from Anton Commandery City. Tell me, who can do it? As long as you give me an example and a method, I'll admit it. Otherwise, do you think I old Han don't dare to kill? Even if he didn't do it, it must be related to him. Bei Shanin naturally knew that Qi Heng couldn't do this. He had never treated Qi Heng as the real murderer. In his opinion, the person who attacked wasn't Qi Heng, but it was definitely related to him. Not to mention others. Even an Earth Immortal expert would not be able to travel hundreds of thousands of miles in one night without using a teleportation formation. Every single activation of the Rain Dragon Guard's teleportation array was recorded. In addition, the activation of the teleportation array, as well as the trembling of space, couldn't be concealed at all. So it wasn't Qi Heng who attacked. However, it was definitely related to Qi Heng. Unreasonable pestering and unreasonable. Han Ting stared furiously at Bei Shanin. Bei Shanin, don't think too highly of yourself. You're not even the son of Marquis and Tan. Don't think you can do whatever you want. The huge axe in Han Ting's hand exploded with a radiance that filled the sky. Han Ting raised the huge axe, his eyes emitting a cold light. Bei Shanin, you don't have the right to do as you please. Today it was either fight or scram. Choose for yourself. Han Ting, are you going to stand up for him? You want to become enemies with me, Bei Shanin, for a lowly barbarian from a small mountain tribe? Bei Shanin tightly clenched his teeth, flames burning in his icy eyes. My son is dead. A disciple of the Marquis and Tan estate is dead. He's a lowly barbarian, but he's still alive. Han Ting, you can protect him for now, but can you protect him forever? Coldly glaring at Qi Heng, Bei Shanin flung his sleeves and turned to leave. How are you? Seeing Bei Shanin leave, Han Ting put away the weapon in his hand and turned to look at Qi Heng. Had her injuries stabilized? Thank you, General. My injuries are no longer a problem. Qi Heng cupped his hands at Han Ting and thanked him. Speaking of which, he really did use General Han Ting and had Han Ting block the disaster for him. That's good. Han Ting nodded, his expression turning solemn again. This matter isn't over yet. Bei Shanin won't let it go like this, and I won't let it go like this either. Han Ting tightly clenched his fists, fury surging in his eyes. Did you know? Aside from you being attacked, Qin Gang is dead. My subordinate, the subordinate who followed me for several hundred years, is dead. I absolutely won't let this matter go like this. Not just anyone can kill the members of our Rain Dragon Guard. Commander Qin is dead. Qi Heng's face was filled with shock and disbelief. Someone dared to attack Commander Qin in the Rain Dragon Guard encampment? And last night, Qin Gang died in the Rain Dragon Guard encampment. Han Ting turned to look at Qi Heng and expressionlessly stared at him, causing Qi Heng's heart to pound. Originally, I also suspected you. A moment later, Han Ting said, Qin Gang had dealings with Northmont Fox. Perhaps your attack by the Wind and Fire Immortals was related to him. You or someone behind you attacked and killed Qin Gang, then killed Northmont Fox. This isn't impossible. General, Chi Heng's heart tightened, and he was about to explain himself when Han Ting waved his hand and interrupted him. No need to explain. Han Ting chuckled. Just now, I'm certain this matter has nothing to do with you. Chi Hung was startled. You're certain this has nothing to do with me? How can you be so sure? This matter really was done by me. How can you be so certain it has nothing to do with me? Because Han Ting pointed at the sky and clasped his hands in obeisance. Because just now His Majesty issued a decree designating Old Demon of Black Mountain, Chi Hung, to participate in the Conclave of Immortal Destiny a year from now. Conclave of Immortal Destiny? Chi Hung frowned. Chi Hung didn't have much interest in this conclave of immortal destiny that occurred once every 300 years. What golden immortal Dao Father or pure yang true immortal taking in a disciple? Chi Hung didn't need them at all. Putting aside the fact that he was Han Yuan Supreme, Chi Hung couldn't possibly become a classmate's disciple even if it was because of his seniority in the Xianhuang Palace, right? His Majesty's cultivation is exceedingly high, and he can see the entire world with a single glance. Since you've caught the eye of His Majesty and have been personally appointed by His Majesty, there's naturally no problem. Han Ting smiled and nodded at Chi Hung, his face filled with envy. Given your talent, you'll definitely be able to stand out in the conclave of immortal destiny. When you enter the sect, even His Majesty will have to address you as fellow Taoist. You'll have reached the heavens in a single bound. Thank you for your guidance, Your Majesty. At this time, Chi Hung could only go along with Han Ting's wishes and thank him. No matter what, Chi Hung felt much more relaxed now that he was no longer a suspect of murder. Although Chi Hung could run to other prefectures with the crime of being a murderer, he would still be able to relax. However, wasn't it better to have one less problem? To the Emperor of the Grand Xia, killing a disciple of the Marquis of Anton's estate and a low-level commander was nothing. Once the Emperor of the Grand Xia spoke, even if Chi Hung was the murderer, he was no longer a murderer. Would Northmont e'en dare to disobey the Emperor of the Grand Xia? However, I'll have to make a trip to this conclave of immortal destiny. Only Wanxiang cultivators can participate in the conclave of immortal destiny. Within a year, I'll fuse with the first-grade Earth Fiend, but I won't be able to immediately ascend to the primal level. This was a small matter. Solidifying one's foundation was more important than increasing one's cultivation. Chapter 1145. Follow me back to Anton Commandery City. There's no need to continue with this trial. With the Wind Immortals and Fire Immortals attack and Emperor Xia's decree, Han Ting directly exempted Chi Hung from the upcoming trial. Thank you, General. Chi Hung was also very happy that he didn't have to waste time here. Next, he needed to fuse with the first-grade Earth Fiend. It would definitely be much safer if he secluded himself in the Rain Dragon Guard's base. Returning to the Anton Commandery City base through the teleportation array, Chi Hung entered his cave, sealed the door, and began cultivating in seclusion to condense the Earth Fiend. First-grade 5-elemental Earth Fiend is not bad. Although, compared to the Origin Pure Aura from the continent of Origin Era, this thing was trash. In this current era, first-grade Earth Fiend was already the best Earth Fiend Aura one could find. Luckily, after fusing with the Earth Fiend Aura, I can still improve my quality through cultivation. Otherwise, I wouldn't dare to condense the Earth Fiend. After undoing the Chaotic Earth technique and allowing his cultivation to return to normal, Chi Hung began absorbing the Earth Fiend Aura to condense the Earth Fiend. Earth is the foundation of the Earth. First, fuse with the Earth Fiend. Taking out the jade box containing the Earth Fiend Aura, Chi Hung reached out his hand and absorbed the Earth Fiend Aura. Power of the Earth condensed the Earth Fiend. Boom! A dark yellow Earth Evil Chi shot out from the seal of the crystal ball. A dark, decaying cloud of smoke rose up like a signal. Apart from nurturing all things, the Earth could also decompose all things. This Earth Fiend Aura represented the power of the Earth's decay. Inhale. Opening his mouth, the dark, decaying cloud rushed into Chi Heng's mouth. The purple mansion phenomenon appeared. The sky was filled with stars. The entire cave was like a river of stars. Decay. Decay. When the earth fiend aura was sucked into the purple mansion, the purple mansion suddenly darkened. An endless amount of decaying aura surged. As if it had experienced millions of years, the stars dimmed and the spirit lake dried up. The entire purple mansion seemed to have fallen into a state of decay. Vegetation withers, all things grow, and all things die. This is the essence of the earth. Life and death are both the power of the earth. Dense earth energy surged and intertwined with the decaying chi, fusing with each other. There was no starry sky or spiritual lake in the purple palace. There was only a ball of light where life and death intertwined, where growth and decay coexisted. When the chi of growth and chi of decay completely merged into one, a thick, dark yellow earth slowly spread out in the purple mansion. The fusion of the earth fiend is complete. Chi Hung exhaled and waved his hand, pulling out another beam of murderous gold. Earth can produce gold. The second step is to integrate the murderous gold aura. Time continuously passed by while Chi Hung was in seclusion to condense fiendish chi. In the blink of an eye, a month had passed. Boom! The cave suddenly shook. Metal, wood, water, fire, earth, the five-elemental earth fiend had officially fused. Inside Chi Hang's violet palace, there were no longer stars and phenomena, only a vast expanse of earth. The land that nurtured all living things was also the land that decayed and buried all living things. Plants would wither, metals would rust, rivers would dry up, and flames would be extinguished. Life and death were constantly reincarnated on this land. At this stage, as long as one's spirit and chi fuses, one will be able to form the primordial spirit. Chi Hung chuckled. The Xia Emperor wants me to participate in the conclave of immortal destiny, but I won't be able to immediately ascend to the primordial spirit realm. I'll use the 10 million liquefied elemental essence to temper my body and improve my Hunyuan bloodline. Chi Hung found this conclave of immortal destiny rather interesting. If any golden immortal Tao Father wanted to take in a disciple, only to discover that the disciple was a classmate, they would probably feel quite helpless, right? Listen to the Tao at the profound Yellow Palace. Everyone was under the tutelage of Tao Father Profound Yellow. Would you dare take in a classmate as a disciple? Wouldn't you be afraid that Tao Father Profound Yellow would give you a slap? Who cares about that? Chi Hung chuckled, then waved his hand and released 5 million kilograms of liquefied elemental essence. The crystalline liquefied elemental essence surged out, filling the entire cave abode as vast amounts of spiritual chi churned and churned. If it weren't for the restrictions on the cave abode, this surge of spiritual chi would have caused a major change in the heavens. It would have easily caused a rain of immortal light and auspicious vapors to rise. 5 million caddies of liquefied elemental essence. What level can my body of the great earth reach? Clasping his hands together, all the pores on his body opened and began to continuously absorb the liquefied elemental essence into his body. The vast amount of spiritual chi was constantly being absorbed, nourishing the Hunyuan bloodline within his body and causing it to grow continuously. The almost undetectable strand of Hunyuan bloodline continued to absorb the spiritual chi, nourishing it, growing, and strengthening it. Rumble. It was as though every single cell in his body was rumbling violently. Thanks to the evolution of his bloodline, every single cell in Chi Heng's body was reborn. The newly born cells faintly glowed with a dim yellow light, and the rich power of the earth began to surge within his bloodline. As his bloodline grew, Chi Heng's body grew even stronger, and he grew 3 inches taller. Overall, Chi Heng's figure was still tall and slender, but his body had grown even stronger. His physical strength had become absolutely terrifying. The earth can bear all things. After absorbing all the liquefied elemental essence, Chi Heng's joints began to crackle as his tremendous blood and chi began to churn. He faintly emanated a vast aura that was as vast as the earth itself. My body of earth has finally broken through to the realm of bearing all things. Chi Heng's face was full of joy. Bearing all things means not only that my body's strength is greater, but more importantly, my defense. Bearing the weight of all things meant bearing nothing, being able to bear anything. Let's see how strong my defense is. With a wave of his hand, Chi Heng took out an earth immortal flying sword from the wind and fire immortal spoils. He swung it down heavily on his arm. Clang! As though striking steel, the flying sword made a metallic clang when it hit his arm. The sword didn't even manage to cut off a single hair on Chi Heng's arm. Not bad. My defense has surpassed that of an earth immortal treasure. Although it's still far from the Hunyuan true body of my past life, it's still not bad in this situation. Chi Heng's strength had improved tremendously since he could ignore the attack of an earth immortal treasure. If he were to face the wind and fire immortals again, Chi Heng wouldn't even need to use the lava to deal with them. He could directly face them head-on and destroy them. As long as I don't run into a celestial immortal with my current strength, even if I can't beat them, I won't have to worry about my life. Chi Heng was even more confident now that his strength had improved. Even if Beishan Yin still wants to pester me, even if he gathers 6 itinerant immortals to attack me, I won't be afraid. His body of earth had already reached minor success. Even if an earth immortal attacked him with a magic treasure, he would be able to take a few hits without being injured. In this situation, even if he couldn't beat them, he could always run away. Chi Heng, come out quickly. At this moment, General Han Ting's voice came from outside the cave. General Han, you're looking for me? Chi Heng was a bit surprised by Han Ting's arrival. He walked to the door and opened the cave's door. General, is there something you need? There's a guard mission. Han Ting took out a command talisman and handed it to Chi Heng. The heir of the God-plumed Duke, young Flame Gnome, is coming to Antan County to train. The God-plumed Duke sent a letter asking me to take care of him. I think your strength is just right for the job. Consider it a favor. Young Flame Gnome. Chi Heng recalled that when he killed Northmont Fox, he heard Northmont Fox talking to someone about the heir of the God-plumed Duke. All right, since Han Ting said he would help him, Chi Heng didn't want to refuse. He took the command talisman and nodded in agreement. However, Chi Heng also had a plan. If this young flame gnome dared to act arrogantly in front of him, then Chi Heng couldn't be blamed for teaching him a lesson. Chapter 1146. Another plot where we team up to fight for treasures. Liu sat upright in the air, a strange smile on his face. Then, let's play a new game. With a wave of his hand, a writing desk appeared before Liu. On the writing desk, there was a complete set of brush, ink, paper, and inkstone. I was born in Kangwoo Academy on South Parting Island. Zither, chess, calligraphy, and painting are all compulsory skills. I haven't done these for many years. I almost forgot that I was born in a Confucian sect. Opening the painting scroll, Bosley picked up the brush and dipped it in ink. Then he began to paint. The plot of a Chinese ghost story needs an ending. The brush moved like dragons and snakes, and the ink was thick and light. In a few moments, a scroll was born under Liu's brush. The entire picture scroll was dark and gloomy. Most of the places were covered with thick black clouds. Only a huge black mountain stood in the middle of the picture scroll. All right, the background is complete. Tossing aside the brush and ink, Liu turned to look in the direction of the great Xia dynasty and smiled. Young man, let's play a game. He grabbed the scroll and threw it out. The scroll silently tore through the air and landed in a vast mountain range in Antan County of the great Xia dynasty. The scroll slowly unfolded, and a glimmer of light flashed through the pitch-black ink. In an instant, it turned into a boundless black sky. The painting scroll slowly descended, and the immortal abode in the mountains below was silently and unknowingly sucked into the painting scroll, becoming a part of it. In the pitch-black scroll, the scene of a palace shrouded in black mist appeared. The female lead has to be in place. With a flick of his finger, a dot of light flashed faintly in the pitch-black scroll. The female lead of a Chinese ghost story, Xiaoqian, was suddenly sucked into the scroll from the Blacktooth tribe by an invisible force. Liu nodded with a smile. The final chapter of a Chinese ghost story. Let officially start. Antan County City. He didn't know that Qi Hung, who had been selected as the actor, had already met up with young Flame Nong, the heir of the Divine Plume Duke. Are you young Master Qi Hung, the Wanxiang itinerant immortal slayer? I've heard a lot about you. When the elegant young Flame Nong, dressed in a brocade robe and wearing a golden crown on his head, heard Han Ting introduce Qi Heng's name, light flashed through his eyes, and the smile on his face became even more amiable. Thank you for your help, young Master Qi. I'm extremely grateful. With a young hero like young Master Qi, my trial this time will definitely be completed perfectly. Young Master Young Flame, you flatter me. Qi Hung answered indifferently, not caring about young Flame Nong's attitude at all. How could Qi Hung not know what young Flame Nong was planning? Whether she was thirsty for talent, open-minded, or approachable, didn't she just want to take Qi Hung under her wing by putting on such an attitude? In Qi Heng's eyes, in this world, only Dao Ancestor Black Yellow was worthy of admiration. The others were just ants. A mere young Flame Nong wanted Prime Hun Yuan to submit to him? Do you think you're Dao Ancestor Black Yellow? How dare you treat me so coldly? A hint of displeasure flashed through young Flame Nong's eyes, but he instantly concealed it. The smile on his face didn't fade in the slightest, but a hint of coldness appeared in his heart. A lowly mountain peasant dares to not know how to appreciate kindness? I have plenty of methods to make you obedient. Young master, the carriage has been prepared. A gloomy old man walked up from behind young Flame Nong, bowing as he reported to young Flame Nong. Shangliu? Seeing this gloomy old man, Qi Hung frowned slightly. This person is the so-called fiend god of this world. Compared to Qi condensation cultivators, he is indeed much stronger. However, in my eyes, primal divinity fiend gods are still nothing more than ants. The carriage has been prepared. Let's depart. Young Flame Nong nodded, then walked towards an enormous and luxurious dragon boat that was docked at the peak of the Rain Dragon Guard Mountain. Young master, these are 2 guards sent by the Northern Mountains Marquis Estate. They are of some use, so I'll let them stay. After boarding the flying boat, fiend god Shengli Yufang pointed at the 2 kneeling youths and reported to young Flame Nong. It's them? Those 2 cultivators from Northmont Fox's estate? Qi Hung looked at the 2 kneeling youths, then realized that they were Shui Hongyi and Bu Yu, whom he had seen when assassinating Northmont Fox. The Northern Mountains Marquis Estate has troubled you. Young Flame Nong nodded towards the 2 kneeling youths, indicating for them to rise, then turned to look at Qi Hung. Laughing, he said, originally, with young Master Qi's assistance, this training exercise should have been no problem at all. However, we're got an immortal estate. The Witch River Immortal Estate. There are countless monsters within the Immortal Estate. We don't have enough manpower to deal with them. Young Master, your subordinate has already read up on some information regarding Antan Commandery City. At this moment, the fiend god Shangli Yufang took out a scroll and handed it to young Flame Nong. Young Master, this is a list of the young heroes of Antan Commandery. You can choose some people from here. Young Flame Nong accepted the scroll, then flipped through it. Black-White Academy? Jining? Not bad. Not bad. I've heard of the Black-White Academy as well. Then let's choose some people from there. Yes. Shangli Yufang accepted the order, then pressed down with his hand. A vast amount of spiritual energy flowed into the flying vessel, and with a rumbling sound, it instantly soared into the skies, transforming into a golden, dragon-shaped streak of light that flew away at high speed. Young Master, Jining's group is currently in the territory of Swallow Mountain. The flying vessel soared through the skies. Soon, it arrived at the territory of Swallow Mountain, in the air above a vast lake. Serpentwing Lake? Chi Hung stared at the lake below, then chuckled. That fellow Ji Ning. After joining the Black-White Academy, he returned to Serpentwing Lake. The flying vessel slowly descended, landing near the island in the center of the lake. Young Master Ji Ning, I am Young Flame Gnome. I would like to invite you all to accompany me on an adventure to the Witch River Immortal Estate. The graceful young flame gnome stepped out of the flying vessel, then clasped his hands and bowed towards Ning and the others, stating the reason for his visit. Young Master Young Flame? Right at this moment, Ning's first girlfriend, Nine Lotus, hurriedly stepped forward, then bowed deeply. Dong Yin Yin pays her respects to you, Young Master Young Flame. Dong Yin Yin? You are that Nine Lotus of the Dong Yin clan? I didn't expect to run into you here. Young Flame nodded. Everyone, I need to bind the Witch River Immortal Estate for a clan trial. This is a celestial immortal estate. All I need to do is complete the trial. I won't be taking any of the treasures and fortunes within the estate. I sincerely invite all of you to accompany me on this adventure. Brother Chi. Ning didn't pay attention to what Young Flame Gnome was saying at all. Instead, he looked towards Chi Hung, who was standing atop the flying vessel. Since even Brother Chi was here, there shouldn't be any problems. If that's the case, then we'll accompany you in exploring the immortal estate, Young Master Young Flame. Ning glanced at his fellow disciples. Seeing that they were all rather tempted, he naturally agreed. Ha ha, excellent. With the assistance of all of you young heroes, how can I not succeed? Young Flame Gnome laughed loudly, then led Ning, Nine Lotus, Yu Wei, and the others onto the flying vessel. Let's head out. The flying vessel soared into the skies, flying towards the Witch River Immortal Estate. Everyone was filled with confidence and high spirits. But what they didn't realize was that the Witch River Immortal Estate was no longer the original Witch River Immortal Estate. Chapter 1147. Everyone, below us is the Witch River Immortal Estate. Soon after, the vessel arrived at a vast mountain range, arriving at the mouth of an enormous gorge. Everyone, please wait a moment. Let me open the Immortal Estate. Smiling, Young Flame Gnome rose to his feet, then walked out of the cabin. He stood at the front of the ship, a golden talisman appearing in his hand. Rumble. Activating his elemental key, the golden talisman exploded forth with a golden pillar of light, illuminating a cliff in the gorge. Splash! The sound of water could be heard, and the walls of the cliff suddenly began to twist and distort, revealing an enormous expanse of water that rippled with light and roiled waves. Enter! Seeing this, Young Flame Gnome revealed a look of delight, and he waved his hand and gave the order. Swoosh! The flying vessel soared into the skies, instantly charging into the rippling light. It was as though it had passed through a curtain of water. In the blink of an eye, the world changed, and a different world appeared in front of them. This is the flying vessel charged through the curtain of water, and the scene before them caused their hearts to tremble. This was a pitch-black world. The entire world was filled with a dense black fog. Gusts of sinister wind howled, and the howling of the wind seemed to carry with it the endless wailing of ghosts and the howling of wolves. Sinister, cold, dark, terrifying. The scene before them didn't seem like an immortal estate at all. Instead, it seemed like the netherworld. In this pitch-black world, in the distance, an enormous black mountain stood tall. Vaguely, one could even make out a few towering palaces atop the enormous black mountain. However, this world was filled with a boundless aura of death. This enormous aura of death seemed capable of annihilating all life in the world. This. At this moment, Young Flame Gnome, who had always been so graceful and elegant, as though everything was under his control, was completely terrified. Uncle Fong, what's going on? This isn't the Witch River Immortal Estate. That's not what the information my family gave me. Young Flame Gnome's face was filled with terror as he looked towards the fiend god, Shangli Yufong. Uncle Fong, this isn't the Witch River Immortal Estate. This place is very dangerous. Retreat. Rumble, Shangli Yufong immediately turned the flying vessel around, then charged back the way they had come. However, there was no way out. No matter how he urged the flying vessel to move, it was as though it had been locked down, unable to move at all. What's going on? What's going on? At this moment, young Flame no longer had the demeanor of a noble family's young master. He looked completely panicked and out of his wits. The son of a wealthy family should not sit under the awning. When the rich sat under the eaves, they were worried that a tile would fall from above and injure themselves. Given young Flame Nome's status, as long as he lived well, he would be able to inherit the title of God-plumed Duke. He would stand above all others and enjoy limitless glory. Initially, Zhang Xian had already gathered all of the information regarding the trial, and his preparations were perfect. He was confident that he would succeed. But now, this place was no longer the Witch River Immortal Mansion. It was the Netherworld. All the preparations were meaningless. The huge crisis made young Flame Nome unable to calm down at all. This place, just as young Flame Nome was in a state of panic, Qi Hung and Ning stared at this dark world. They felt a sense of familiarity in their hearts. Why does it feel so familiar? I've never been here before. Could it be that this place has something to do with me during a certain reincarnation? Qi Hung furrowed his brows tightly. Kai-chun, hurry up and leave. Let's go. This is Black Mountain. This was the lair of the Witch of the Black Mountain. Hurry up and leave. Don't worry about me. Suddenly, an urgent and sorrowful cry rang out from the distant, enormous mountain. Upon hearing this voice, Qi Hung and Ning were both startled, and their bodies trembled. Just now, did you hear that? Ning looked up at Qi Hung. That's Xiao Qian. Oh, Springgrass? Black Mountain? The Witch of the Black Mountain? Qi Hung looked at the tall mountain in front of him and pointed at his nose. The Witch of the Black Mountain, the Witch of the Black Mountain, am clearly still here. Could it be that there's another Witch of the Black Mountain inside? No, I have to go save Xiao Qian. Oh, Springgrass. Ning's face was resolute as he turned to look at Qi Hung. Brother Qi, don't worry, I'll go as well. Qi Hung snorted coldly. I'm the Witch of the Black Mountain. I want to see who's the one playing tricks. Hey, what are you talking about? Yu Wei, Nine Lotus, and the others by Ning's side all looked at Ning and Qi Hung with puzzled expressions. That voice just now. Could it be that they didn't hear it? Qi Hung and Ning looked at each other and suddenly realized that only the two of them could hear Xiaoqian's call from afar. What you said just now. Could it be that you know where this place is? At this time, the panicked young Flame Nome came back to his senses. He turned to look at Qi Hung and Ning and roared with a fierce expression. Speak. Speak. What's going on here? Are you the ones who framed me? You dare to set me up? You're dead. Dead. Shut up. Hearing young Flame Nome bite like a mad dog, Qi Hung frowned and roared at young Flame Nome. Bastard. You dare to be disrespectful to me? You, a mountain barbarian, dare to be disrespectful to me? Uncle Fawn, take him down. Young Flame Nome, who had experienced a great change and was already hysterical, had long since torn off his mask of thirst for talent. His arrogant and brutal nature was undoubtedly exposed. Faced with an unknown danger, I didn't want to have internal strife. But brat, you dare to be disrespectful to me? This is a great crime. Go to hell. The fiend god, Shangli Yufeng, let out an explosive roar. His entire body exploded with a sinister black aura, transforming into an enormous serpent that was more than 300 meters long. This enormous serpent had 9 enormous human heads on its head. Waves of highly toxic black aura sprayed out from the nostrils of the 9 human heads. Demonic might filled the heavens, boundlessly savage. This is a fiend god. Seeing Shangli Yufeng reveal his true form, the faces of everyone on the ship changed dramatically. They were incomparably shocked. This was a true fiend god. A mangy serpent dares to be impudent in front of me. He had already killed 3 loose immortals. A mere primal fiend god was nothing more than an ant in front of Qi Hung. With an explosive roar, Qi Hung struck out with his palm. Rumble! A gigantic palm appeared, and the dense and heavy power of the earth surged out. The boundless power was so violent that it seemed as if it could even pierce through the void. Ah! The palm struck, and Shangli Yufang let out a miserable scream as he was sent flying backwards. He plunged headfirst into the boundless black fog, no longer making a sound. You. Shangli Yufang, whom he had placed high hopes on, was actually sent flying by a single slap from Qi Hung. It was unknown whether he was dead or alive. This caused young Flame Nong to scream in fright. Set sail. Head towards the mountain. Qi Hung turned his head to look at young Flame Nong, his eyes filled with monstrous malice. Oh, okay. Young Flame Nong hurriedly activated his true essence, driving the flying ship towards the Black Mountain. However, his heart was filled with hatred. I'll definitely kill you. Brat, you must die. Chapter 1148. We are going to go to that Black Mountain. Seeing Qi Heng's actions, Yue of the Black-White College's face was filled with astonishment. That place is definitely the most dangerous place. If we go in like this... Just now, Shangli Yufang was planning to drive the flying vessel away from this place, but he wasn't able to leave at all. Ning turned to explain to Yue. This place is very strange. There's no way to leave. The only way to leave is to go deep into the Black Mountain and find a chance to leave. Ji Ning. Right at this moment, Nine Lotus stealthily moved closer to Ning, reaching out to tug at his sleeve. She sent mentally, Ji Ning, your chance has come. Right now, young Master Young Flame is in trouble. If you rescue him, you will be his benefactor. With young Master Young Flame's support, in the future, you will be able to make a name for yourself. Enough! Hearing Nina Lotus' words, Ning's heart was filled with a surge of anger. Sucking up to those in power and flattering them isn't my style. My future will be built by my own hands. There's no need for me to suck up to those in power. You are too naive. In this world, if you don't suck up to those in power, you won't be able to make a name for yourself at all. I'm helping you. Shut your mouth. Ning snorted. Nine Lotus, training in the Tao is training in the heart. My heart is upright. I won't do something like this. Don't say anything else. I'm doing this for your own good. A hint of tears flashed through Nina Lotus' eyes. She couldn't understand it all. Ning's act of pretending to be noble and virtuous was simply wrong. For the sake of his own benefit, for the sake of making a name for himself, sucking up to those in power was the best way. So what if he had to make a small sacrifice? The flying vessel continued to advance, and the surrounding black fog seemed to grow even thicker. Waves of sinister, cold air began to spread out. Even though the flying vessel's formations were protecting them, everyone still felt their entire bodies turn cold. Rumble. Right at this moment, an enormous, heaven-shaking explosion suddenly rang out from the black fog in front of them. Rower. An enormous, incomparably enormous black serpent charged out from the pitch-black fog, its enormous serpentine tail sweeping viciously through the air as it smashed heavily towards the flying vessel. Shangli Yufang. This black serpent, 30,000 meters long, was Shangli Yufang, whom Qi Hung had struck into the black fog. But wasn't Shangli Yufang only 300 meters in size? Why did it suddenly become so big? And his aura was no weaker than that of an Earth immortal. However, now was not the time to think about this problem. Block it! Block it! Clearly, Shangli Yufang had gone mad. Otherwise, he wouldn't have ignored young Flame Nong and directly attacked the flying vessel. At this moment, everyone on the ship struck out together, frantically pouring their spiritual energy into the flying boat to block Shangli Yufang's attacks. Boom! With an earth-shattering explosion, the boundless force smashed heavily onto the flying boat. PFFF, the violent impact caused everyone on the ship to spit out a mouthful of blood. The violent impact sent the flying ship flying out of the air. Boom! The flying boat was sent flying far away. It plummeted rapidly and heavily smashed into the ground. This violent impact shook the people on the ship until their vision turned black. They fell to the ground and all fainted. Scholar, scholar, how are you? After a series of violent shuddering, Ning slowly opened his eyes. Upon seeing this, Ning's entire body trembled. The sun was high in the sky, and the heat was unbearable. In front of him was a pavilion that was located on a relay road. A man dressed as a merchant was shaking Ning as he called out to him. Oh, what's going on with me? Hadn't he been attacked by Shangli Fong? Hadn't he been in a pitch-black space? Why had he suddenly become like this? Ning's head was filled with bewilderment. He couldn't figure out what was going on at all. Scholar, you suffered a heat stroke just now. The merchant, upon seeing Ning wake up, laughed and nodded. When I came in to rest, I saw you faint here. I had to spend quite a bit of time trying to save you. It seems you're pretty tough. Heat stroke? Me? Ning stared, slack-jawed. I'm an exalted Zifu disciple, just a step away from the Wanxiang level. How could I possibly suffer a heat stroke? He subconsciously summoned his ki, only to discover that his body was completely empty. There was no ki at all. This discovery caused Ning's entire body to tremble. I've lost my strength? I've become an ordinary person? What's going on? I didn't take your things. I picked them up and put them away for you. The merchant laughed as he pointed towards the pavilion. Your books and your travel permit are all in your cage. Travel permit? Ning was stunned. Since when did the Grand Xia dynasty have travel permits? Puzzled, Ning rose to his feet, then walked to the cage. Opening it, he pulled out the so-called travel permit. And then Ning was completely stupefied. Ning Kai-chun? I'm Ning Kai-chun. Seeing the name written on the travel permit, Ning was so shocked that his entire body was trembling. I've returned to my previous life? I've returned to Ning Kai-chun's previous life? Brother, I'm not in a clear state of mind. I can't remember where I am right now. Brother, please tell me. Since he was Ning Kai-chun, he had to first figure out where he was. Scholar, are you muddle-headed from the fever? The merchant shook his head. This is Jinhua County. It's only half a day away from Northern Gua. If you hurry, you'll be able to reach Northern Gua. If you really can't, you can stay at Lanrua Temple on the way. After speaking to this point, the merchant rose to his feet, picking up his load. Scholar, since you've woken up, I need to hurry on my way. We'll part ways here. Thank you, brother, for saving my life. Ning hurriedly clasped his hands in thanks. After watching the merchant leave, Ning sat down on the ground, his heart filled with waves of shock. Jinhua, Northern Gua, Lanrua Temple, Xiaoqian, is this the dream of my previous life? He had heard Xiaoqian's voice in the Witch River Immortal Estate, and she had said that it was the lair of old Monster Blackmount. In other words, after he had fainted, he had been drawn into a dream by the power of the Witch River Immortal Estate, and had dreamt of his previous life. Wake up! Wake up! Wake up! Ning viciously slapped the ground with his hands, causing his palms to swell up. He grimaced in pain, but still didn't wake up. While I was on Earth, I saw an article. It said that when humans slept, they would protect themselves. Once they felt pain, they would definitely wake up. Now that I'm in so much pain, I'm still not waking up? Then, I'm afraid it won't be that easy to wake up from this dream. Ning raised his head to look towards the front. Gritting his teeth, he climbed to his feet and picked up the chest. If I want to wake up from this dream, I'll probably have to make a trip to Lanrua Temple. Walking out of the pavilion, Ning walked along the road towards North Jinhua, heading towards the direction of North Gua. The weather in June changed so quickly. After walking for an hour, the sky was suddenly covered with dark clouds. Lightning flashed and thunder rumbled. Torrential rain poured down. Damn it! He didn't have any divine abilities, nor was he able to fly. Even though Ning had covered the chest behind him with a curtain of rain, he was still completely drenched. Da-da-da. On the road behind him, a sound of horse hooves galloped over. Through the rain, Ning could see a figure galloping towards him on horseback. It was Adept Buyu, who had entered the Witch River Immortal Estate with him. Brother Boo, give me a ride. Upon seeing this companion, Ning felt a surge of joy in his heart. He hurriedly waved his hand in greeting. You have mistaken me for someone else. The man on horseback pulled on the reins, giving Ning a cold glance. I am the #1 sword in the world. My name is Xiahou. Ning stared, slack-jawed. No way. He didn't remember that he was a Buyu? Was this a dream, or had he truly returned to his previous life? Chapter 1149. Great hero. My body is weak, and I've just encountered storm. It's hard to walk. Would you? Who cared if he was walking or Xiahou? If he could hitch a ride, who would want to walk? Ning's heart was filled with resentment towards his current status as a scholar who didn't even have the strength to trust a chicken. No, the #1 sword in the world, the Xiahou swordsman, gave Ning a cold glance, then shook his head. You'll be a burden if I bring you along. Ning stared, slack-jawed. Fine. This reason was too strong. He had no words to refute it. The fine steed galloped forward, and the Xiahou swordsman on the back of the steed straightened his back, as straight as a sharp longsword. This is too much. This is too much. Ning stared gloomily at the back of the Xiahou swordsman, then angrily stomped his feet. If it weren't for the fact that I've lost all my strength, would I have needed your help? His plan to hitch a ride had failed. Ning had no choice but to carry the chest on his back, constantly moving forward, 1 foot deep, 1 foot shallow. The torrential rain continued to pour down, and the misty rain filled the air. The road beneath Ning's feet gradually became muddy, making it harder for him to walk. Kill! Kill! After walking for another 2 hours, the torrential rain finally stopped. But from a gorge up ahead, a series of sounds of battle could be heard. A gentleman doesn't stand beneath a collapsing wall. Right now, I'm no longer a Zifu disciple. I'm a scholar who doesn't even have the strength to trust a chicken. Seeing this, Ning hurriedly ran towards the mountain forest next to the road to hide. Hey, don't come over. Hide over there. Just as he entered the mountain forest, Ning suddenly heard a soft, hushed shout from next to him. Someone's here? Ning was startled, and he hurriedly turned his head to look. He saw that behind a giant boulder in the mountain forest, the #1 sword in the world, his face cold and his sword intent bursting forth, was actually hiding behind the boulder, his face ashen. He looked completely terrified. You are hiding here as well? Ning stared, slack-jawed. Aren't you the #1 sword in the world? Shouldn't a hero of the Jianghu like you travel the world with your sword in your hands? Why have you become like this? What do you know? The Xiahou swordsman turned to glare at Ning. Of course, I am the #1 sword in the world. But those people, they are the heavens. Upon hearing this reply, Ning was speechless. The reason was too sufficient, and the logic was too tight. There was simply no way to refute it. Since even the Xiahou swordsman didn't dare to show himself, Ning began to feel interested in the battles between the two sides. Lying on the edge of the rock, he stretched out half of his head and carefully observed the battle ahead. When Ning saw the two combatants clearly, his heart was filled with waves of shock. No wonder Xiahou swordsman hid in fear. As expected, the #1 sword in the world is nothing. The two parties fighting near the gorge ahead were not mountain bandits cutting off the path, nor were they martial artists fighting. They were a group of monsters. On one side were 3 huge wolves that were about 10 feet tall, while on the other side were a dozen lobsters. Shrimp, you've crossed the line. This was the Black Wolf King's territory. Scram! The 3 giant wolves roared angrily, waving their sharp claws and baring their fangs, fighting with a group of lobsters that were waving their pincers. This world has become so chaotic. How are humans going to survive if demons run amok in broad daylight? Ning stared at the scene in front of him. His jaw dropped, and he couldn't close it for quite some time. That can't be right? If monsters are so rampant, then how was Ning Kaichen able to survive for so long? And that peddler in the pavilion, how is he able to travel everywhere to sell his wares? Ning turned his head to look at Xiahou swordsman. Hero, has the world become so chaotic? Of course not. Xiahou swordsman seemed to have calmed himself down. In front of Ning, he regained his confidence as the #1 sword in the world, and he proudly raised his head. This is a battle between the wolf army under the command of the mountain god and the shrimp army under the command of the water god. Normally, they don't care about mortals. However, if we are drawn into a battle between divine soldiers, we might be accidentally injured. Mountain god? Water god? Divine soldiers? Ning suddenly felt that surviving in this world was simply too difficult. I have to recover my strength. I have to recover my strength. Otherwise, before I even wake up from my dream, I might be crushed to death by that monster. What would happen if he died in his dream? Ning didn't want to personally test it out for himself. How can I recover my strength? Ning had no idea at all. Bastard, you shrimps dare to be so arrogant? A furious roar could be heard from the horizon up ahead. A black wind howled, and a dire monster with the head of a wolf and the body of a human charged towards them. Die! The dire wolf, riding the wind, wielded an enormous war hammer in his hands and smashed viciously towards the shrimp soldiers. Rumble. Mountains crumbled and the earth cracked. Shattered rocks flew everywhere, and the powerful shock waves caused the entire world to shake. This heaven-shaking blow caused the shrimp soldiers to be smashed into pieces of flesh and blood, sending them flying everywhere. Unfortunately for them, half-a-meter-long shrimp body flew out, smashing towards Ning and the Xiaohou swordsman's hiding place. Damn! Seeing this, Ning and the Xiaohou swordsman's faces instantly turned ashen. They felt as if their souls had left their bodies, and they hurriedly covered their heads and fled. Rumble, the half-lobster body, smashed through trees, smashing through rocks, smashing through everything in its path. It brushed past the heads of the two, howling through the air before smashing heavily against a cliff, causing dust to fly everywhere. Phew! Having dodged that attack, Ning sat down on the ground, panting heavily. No wonder the number one sword in the world had been so terrified that he didn't dare to show himself. That dire wolf, riding the wind, was already at the Xiantian level. In front of such a monster, the number one sword in the world would probably be able to kill it with a flick of his finger, right? Xiantian level? Ning was suddenly startled. The power system of these monsters, why is it that it is the same as the monsters of the Grand Xia dynasty? After thinking for a moment, Ning realized that since Earth was part of the three realms, it wasn't strange that the monsters here were the same as the monsters of the Grand Xia. I finally avoided disaster. By now, the wolf army and the shrimp soldiers had finished their battle. The lobsters had been wiped out, and the wolf army had returned victorious. The Xiaohou swordsman once more regained his confidence and composure as the number one sword in the world. Holding the long sword by his waist, he walked out of the mountain forest with his head held high and his chest puffed out. It was as though the person hiding behind the boulder, trembling, wasn't him at all. The Xiaohou swordsman left, but Ning didn't. According to the teachings of the Grand Xia dynasty, the flesh and blood of monstrous beasts can nourish one's blood and strengthen one's body. Ning looked at the 3-meter-long lobster behind him, and a hint of a smile appeared on his face. The most important thing for me right now is to increase my power. He walked to the bottom of the cliff. Seeing that enormous lobster, Ning gritted his teeth. I heard that lobsters can be eaten raw. From the shattered shell of the lobster, he pulled out a piece of lobster meat that was as white as jade. Ning opened his mouth and bit down viciously. The taste isn't bad. After swallowing the lobster meat, Ning discovered that it didn't have any effect at all. Wasn't it supposed to nourish one's blood and blood? Why wasn't it useful at all? In my current state, I don't even have the strength to truss a chicken. How am I supposed to survive in this terrifying world? Chapter 1150. I definitely have to go to Lanrua Temple. Ning tossed the lobster aside, then turned to look towards the north of Jinhua. But, given my current power, even making it to Lanrua Temple is a problem. Swish! Right at this moment, a sword light howled through the skies, and the shrill howl of the sword shook the world. That's sword evasion? Seeing the sword light howl through the skies, Ning's heart trembled. This world has monsters, but naturally it has cultivators as well. Even if I lose my power, it's not impossible for me to regain it in this world. Thinking to this point, Ning's heart began to burn, and he hurriedly emerged from the mountain forest. It's actually coming this way. Just as he was about to call out to the sword light, Ning suddenly discovered that the sword light was actually flying towards him at high speed. Swish! The sword light flashed, and a woman dressed in a long red dress, with incomparably beautiful looks and an otherworldly aura, instantly landed in front of Ning. Yue, senior apprentice sister Yu. That's great. I finally get to meet you. This woman riding a flying sword was Ning's senior apprentice sister of the Black-White College, Yue. Compared to that outsider, Yue was a true friend of his, and their relationship was even closer. Seeing Yue, it was as though Ning had found his organization. Senior apprentice sister Yu truly lived up to her reputation as a reincarnated immortal. Even in this world where she dreamt of her past life, she still possessed such extraordinary power. Now, he would be much safer. He wouldn't have to worry about being crushed to death by any monsters passing by. Senior apprentice sister Yu, you came? Wonderful. Ning's face was filled with joy as he welcomed her, laughing as he greeted Yue. You got the wrong person. Yue glanced sideways at Ning, then shook her head. My surname isn't Yu, and I'm not your senior apprentice sister. Ning was startled. Like Yu, senior apprentice sister Yue didn't remember the events of the future. Could it be that he was the only one with memories of the future? Dare I ask for your name? Fairy? Since Yue didn't remember the future, then he had to figure out her identity in this world. I'm a chi refiner of Mount Kunlun. My Taoist title is Crimson, and people call me Fairy Crimson. Yue glanced at Ning, then gave him her name. Fairy Crimson? Scarlet Glow. Scarlet Glow? At first, Ning didn't pay it much mind. After repeating the name Crimson Afterglow to himself twice, his entire body suddenly trembled and his face turned blank. Scarlet Afterglow? Yin Qixia? It can't be? Ning raised his head to look at Yue, his heart filled with waves of shock. Isn't Yin Qixia a bearded, muscular man? Why are you so feminine? Big Bossly clapped his hands and laughed. What was a sissy Yin Qixia? Young man, there are even more frightening things waiting for you. You know me? My secular family's surname is indeed Yin, but I have always used the name Scarlet Afterglow. But no one has ever called him Yin Qixia. Fairy Crimson Dawn gave Ning a surprised glance. She was beginning to feel curious about this ordinary scholar. For many years, Fairy Qixia had been cultivating in Kunlun Mountain and had never stepped out of the mountain gate. This time, when she left the mountain to travel the world, other than her fellow cultivators, there was no one who knew her. However, why did this scholar seem to be very familiar with her? Furthermore, he was able to call out her secular family name, as if he was very familiar with her name. Senior apprentice sister? As soon as we meet, he addresses me as senior apprentice sister. Can it be that he is my junior apprentice brother from before I reincarnated? But since he has awakened the memories of his past life, why doesn't he have any cultivation? Fairy Crimson Dawn was puzzled. Scholar, you are. Fairy Crimson Dawn opened her mouth to ask for Ning's name, to see if she could recall some memories. I am now called Ning Kaichin. In the past or in the future. My name is Ji Ning, senior apprentice sister Yu. Do you still remember me? Do you still remember the Black-White College? Ning hurriedly reported his background, attempting to awaken her memories. Ning Kaichin, Ji Ning, Black-White College. Yue frowned tightly. After a while, she shook her head. I have never heard of your name, nor do I know of any Black-White College. Have you forgotten? Can it be that aside from me, everyone else has lost their memories? Ning let out a helpless, bitter laugh. Perhaps, if I awaken their lost memories, I will be able to awaken from this dreamland? But I clearly have my memories. Why can't I awaken? Where is the key to leaving this dreamland? Orchid Temple? Ning suddenly thought of this critical location. Since it originated from Orchid Temple, then perhaps the answer to everything lay within Orchid Temple. Senior apprentice sister, Let me tell you a bit about the Black-White College. If he wanted to find the answer at Orchid Temple, he naturally had to have Yin Qixia, a key figure. Ning naturally wanted to have this fairy Crimson Dawn in front of him accompany him. And so, Ning began to tell Yue everything that had happened in the Black-White College. Fairy Crimson Flame? My title in the Black-White College was Fairy Crimson Flame. That is rather similar to my current title. Fairy Crimson Dawn laughed and nodded. Scholar, perhaps what you say is true. However, the past has all become like the clouds. We cultivators don't care about the past. We only care about this life, free and unfettered. What if it isn't the past, but the next life? Ning raised his head to look at Yue, a solemn look on his face. Next life? Yue was startled. She turned to stare at Ning, then shook her head. Reversing time and returning to your previous life? You don't have that ability. We went to explore the estate of a celestial immortal, but were attacked. Our flying boat crashed, and then everyone dreamed of our previous lives. Senior apprentice sister, don't you want to understand all of this? Don't you want to know the answer? Ning raised his head to look at Yue. Senior apprentice sister, perhaps this is all just a dream. Our true bodies are still in danger. If we don't wake up from this dream soon, perhaps we will never wake up again. What do you suggest? Yue was somewhat suspicious of Ning's words, but what if they were true? Orchid Temple. Everything originated from Orchid Temple. Perhaps the answer is there. As Ning saw it, all of this definitely had something to do with Orchid Temple. Orchid Temple? What a coincidence. I was just about to go to Orchid Temple. Yue raised her head to look at Ning, then frowned. Orchid Temple is occupied by dire monsters. You have no cultivation at all. If you go, I'm afraid, senior apprentice sister, I have to go. Only if I go to Orchid Temple will I be able to uncover the truth. Without Ning Kai-chun at Orchid Temple, the story wouldn't be able to unfold. What answer would there be? Fine. Since you don't fear death, then I'll take you to Orchid Temple. With a wave of her hand, a scarlet light swirled out, and a streak of sword light soared into the skies. Fairy Crimson Dawn. Yue led Ning through the skies, hurrying towards Orchid Temple. A short while later, on a mountain ridge in front of them, an enormous tree stood tall, its enormous crown covering an area of more than 10 kilometers. Outside the crown of the tree, there was a ruined temple. This was Orchid Temple. Chapter 1151. This is the Lanrua Temple. The scene in front of him caused Ning's heart to clench, especially that giant tree. To Ning, who was familiar with the plot, he couldn't help but shudder. A streak of light descended. Ning and Fairy Crimson Dawn landed in the Lanrua Temple. The tree Demonis has actually grown to this level. After landing in the Lanrua Temple, Fairy Crimson Dawn raised her head to look at the giant tree in front of her. She furrowed her brows tightly. People's hearts are like ghosts. This method of using one's heart to lure her in and absorb her blood and yang energy actually allowed her to reach this level. Senior apprentice sister, right now, the sun is high in the sky and the yang energy is abundant. This is the time when the tree Demonis is at her weakest. Why don't we take this opportunity to get rid of this tree Demonis? From what Ning understood of the plot, the tree Demonis was at her most rampant at night. Right now, taking this opportunity to get rid of the tree Demonis would save them a lot of trouble. Who said that tree demonesses are at their weakest under the sun? Fairy Crimson Dawn turned her head in surprise. Tree demonesses are still trees at their core. Sunlight, rain, and dew. Aren't those what trees need? Who said that tree demonesses are weak during the day? Ning was startled. Wasn't that what happened in a Chinese ghost story? Could it be that tree demonesses also had the ability to photosynthesize? She wouldn't be weak under the sun. Tree demonesses aren't ghosts. Naturally, they wouldn't be afraid of sunlight. However, the ghosts under her control indeed wouldn't dare to appear during the day. Fairy Crimson Dawn nodded. From this perspective, it isn't unreasonable for her to be at her weakest right now. With a wave of her hand, a sword light whizzed out. The surging flames were like a red cloud. Crimson flame, heaven-burning sword. Fairy Crimson Dawn soared into the sky. With a wave of her hand, she unleashed a sword energy that burned the heavens. Rumble. Monstrous flames surged into the sky. The raging flames covered the sky and covered the entire area. The giant tree in front of them was enveloped in the blazing flames. Cultivator? The attack of the raging flames caused the slumbering tree Demonis to suddenly wake up. A mighty dark green light flashed from the giant tree, blocking the raging flames. Cultivator, I have no enmity with you. Why are you attacking me? The dark green light flashed, and an enormous aura covered the entire area. Within the dark green radiance, a figure that was neither male nor female appeared. Upon seeing the figure within the light, Ning was so shocked that his entire body began to tremble. The figure standing tall amidst the dark green radiance was actually Young Flame Gnome. Granny was him. Young Flame Gnome was actually Granny Tree Demon. He had actually turned into that androgynous fellow. Everyone has the right to punish evil and unorthodox cultivators. Since she had already made her move, how could Yue hesitate? She formed a sword seal with her hand, and a blazing sword light soared into the sky. Blazing red lotus. The sword light spiraled up and turned into a huge, flaming lotus. Then it fiercely collided with the tree demon. Preposterous! Granny Tree Demon Young Flame Gnome roared angrily. Do you think Granny is easy to bully? Cover the sky. A dark green radiance soared into the sky, and the mighty radiance was earth-shattering. Violent winds howled, and a vast dark green radiance covered the entire sky like rolling dark clouds. The world was dark, without the slightest bit of light, as if night had fallen. Evil winds howled, and ghosts wailed and wolves howled. In the area around the giant tree, countless ghosts and ghosts swept towards it like a tidal wave. The sudden cold caused Ning's entire body to tremble. Ghosts have appeared? Then, where is little Qian? Seeing this Nightwalker of 100 ghost situation, Ning was shocked. He hurriedly opened his eyes wide, searching everywhere for little Qian. However, even after looking for a long time, Ning was unable to tell which of these vile souls and ghosts was little Qian. Can it be that I'm using the wrong method? Instead of waiting for nightfall, little Qian appeared and attacked during the day. Ning felt a wave of worry in his heart. If little Qian was amongst these vile souls and ghosts, raging flames incinerate the heavens. Monstrous flames swept out, engulfing all of the ferocious souls and malicious ghosts that were whizzing over and burning them to ashes in an instant. I hope little Qian isn't amongst these ghosts. Seeing Yue and Granny Tree Demon battle, Ning's face was filled with helplessness. There was nothing he could do. Little Qian, where are you? Ning felt that these clearly cannon fodder vile souls and ghosts shouldn't be on the same level as little Qian. Since he couldn't interfere in the battle between Yue and Granny Tree Demon, Ning turned and walked out of the temple hall, then began to search through the wild mountains. Walking out of the temple hall, Ning stepped into the pitch-black darkness. Ding-dong! A melodious zither sound rang out from afar, like a stream of water, like jade beads falling onto a plate. Upon hearing this zither sound, Ning's heart trembled. Little Qian? His feet didn't stop moving. Ning ran towards the zither sound at high speed. Moments later, a small lake appeared in front of Ning. Even though it was dark all around, the waterside pavilion by the small lake emitted a radiance that resembled moonlight. A beautiful woman dressed in a long white dress was playing a zither, playing a string of notes. Little Qian, upon seeing this woman, Ning hurriedly called out loudly. Upon hearing this call, the zither-playing woman's entire body trembled, and she hurriedly turned her head. Upon seeing this woman's appearance, Ning was so shocked that his entire body was covered with cold sweat. He almost vomited. This so-called little Qian was actually a man. This was Shuehangi. This was the cultivator who had accompanied Young Flame Gnome to the Witch River Immortal Estate. Shuehangi. Bastard! Why the hell are you pretending to be Nya Xiaoqian? Upon seeing Shui Hongyi dressed as a woman, Ning's entire body trembled. He couldn't help but let his thoughts wander. Granny was young flame no, and Shui Hongyi was dressed as a woman. This cough cough, he couldn't think about it. It was too disgusting. Young master, why are you looking for little Qian? Compared to little Qian, your humble servant knows how to be considerate. Red lips on a flute, white hands caressing a dragon, fragrant rear court flowers. Shui Hongyi put down his zither, then walked over with graceful steps. Her waist twisted so much, Ning was worried that it might break. Ugh! Upon hearing the words rear court flowers, Ning's entire body trembled. He bent over and began to retch. Stop! Don't come over! Don't come over! Young master, why must you keep people 1,000 kilometers away? It is fate that brought us together. Fate my ass! Ning cursed angrily, then turned and ran. If he didn't run, the consequences would be unimaginable. You want to run? No one has ever been able to escape from me, Little Red. Little Red let out a cold snort. His body howled through the air, flying straight towards Ning. Finished. Finished. I'm doomed. Without any strength, and with Little Red, this terrifying fellow, catching up to him, Ning felt a chill in his heart. He felt as though his rear court was rather cold. Little Red, you've crossed the line. Right at this moment, a robe fluttered, and an incomparably beautiful woman floated down, blocking in front of Ning. She waved her hand. An array of moon-white light howled out. Little Qian, you've... Little Red's heart trembled. He hurriedly dodged this attack, then stomped his feet heavily, then turned and left. Young master, I am Little Qian. The incomparably beautiful woman slowly turned, revealing her beautiful, lotus-like face to Ning. Her eyes were as clear as water. A single glance was eternal. Seeing this familiar yet unfamiliar face, Ning's heart trembled. In this moment, I saw you. From now on, my life will no longer be lonely. In this moment, I saw you. From now on, your face will be branded into my heart. No matter how much time passes, we will be together in life and death. If you live, I live. If you die, I die. Just because you looked at me. Love is that simple. Chapter 1152. It's supposed to be a thriller, but you actually turned it into a romantic drama? The great director, Bosley, was very dissatisfied with the performance of the male and female leads. Then don't blame me for tormenting you. With a flick of his finger, the world quietly changed. Rumble. In the sky above Lanrua Temple, the battle between Fairy Chixia and Granny Tree Demon became even more intense. What can make fire? Although Granny Tree Demon's cultivation level was high, her wood-type demonic energy was restrained by Fairy Chixia's fiery sword energy. After a fierce battle, she gradually became tired. Scoundrel, I'm being bullied. Why aren't you coming over to help? Granny Tree Demon, who was neither male nor female, released a dark green screen of light, blocking the incoming fiery lotus. However, her branches and leaves were still burned by the blazing flames. Since she couldn't beat Fairy Chixia, Granny Tree Demon could only call for help. Tree Demon called for help? Could it be old fiend Black Mountain? Ji Ning, who was chatting with Xiao Qian, suddenly heard Granny Tree Demon's loud roar. He was shocked. Old fiend Black Mountain is Qi Heng. But Qi Heng, who has lost his memories, doesn't recognize me at all. With Qi Heng's strength, this old fiend Black Mountain must be very terrifying. Thinking of Qi Heng's fame of killing a loose immortal, Ji Ning's heart trembled. Even if I recover my strength, I don't want to fight against Brother Qi. That's too dangerous. Thinking of this, Ji Ning turned his head to look at Xiao Qian. Xiao Qian, in a while, leave this place with me and escape from the control of the tree demon. Kaicha, I am. Xiao Qian lowered her head with a sad face. It's just a ghost. I know. It's fine. Ji Ning waved his hand indifferently. Let's go. Hurry up and leave with me. Without any explanation, Ji Ning grabbed Xiao Qian, turned around, and ran towards the exit of Lanrua Temple. While running, he raised his head and shouted towards Yue, who was fighting in midair. Senior apprentice sister, a powerful enemy is coming. We can't fight against him. Let's run. Run? None of you can run. Granny Tree Demon roared. She stretched out her hand, and countless vines and roots rushed out from the ground, wrapping around Ji Ning. Young master, be careful. As the roots approached, Xiao Qian waved her hand. An ray of white light shot out. It was like a crescent moon blade that whistled through the air, slicing apart the roots. Xiao Qian? And a handsome young man? Her roots had been severed. Granny Tree Demon was both shocked and enraged. She turned her head to look, and when she saw Ning, that handsome, elegant youth, her eyes instantly lit up. Xiao Qian, you slut! How dare you snatch the handsome young man from your grandmother? You're courting death. Upon seeing Ning, and then seeing Xiao Qian by his side, Granny Tree Demoness flew into a rage. The inky green light, which had been suppressed by the Inferno Lotus, suddenly exploded with power, and her aura actually increased dramatically. Xiao Hong, stop Xiao Qian for me. Go quickly. Wait until that bastard arrives. None of them will be able to escape. Granny Tree Demon roared as she blocked Yue's attack. F***CK. Young Flame Gnome likes pretty boys? Upon seeing Young Flame Gnome transform into Granny Dryad, Ning couldn't help but shudder. He hurriedly grabbed Xiao Qian, turned, and ran. Young master, why are you in such a hurry? Her clothes fluttered in the wind, and her fragrance wafted over. Xiao Hong coquettishly appeared in front of Ning. Her coquettish appearance was simply unbearable to look at. Granny told me to stop you, but actually, I didn't want to stop you at all. Xiao Hong looked towards Ning, her face filled with hidden bitterness. Young master, from the very first moment I saw you, I only had you in my heart. I no longer have Granny. Young master, take me with you. Xiao Hong is willing to make your bed for you. F***CK off. Ning's entire body shuddered, and he almost blurted out the words, "Wheat bastard." Young master, why are you so heartless? Tears glistened in Xiao Hong's eyes. She was heartbroken. Didn't you hear what the young master said? F***CK off. Otherwise, a ray of white light exploded from Xiao Qian's hand, and the cold light carried a desolate aura. My heart shines like the moon, but the moon shines like a ditch. Xiao Hong let out a long sigh, and then her eyes were filled with venom. Since that's the case, then don't blame me for being vicious. If I can't have it, then no one else can. Clang, clang. The sound of strings rang out, and one sharp zither string after another shot out, chopping down towards Ning's head like streaks of swordlight. Young master, be careful, Xiao Qian cried out in alarm. An array of white light exploded from her fingertips, rippling out like a wave of light. An icy cold aura froze the 7 zither strings Xiao Hong had chopped out in midair. Zither strings are threads of love. How can it be frozen when there are so many feelings? Xiao Hong looked at Ning with hidden bitterness. She waved her hand, as though plucking the strings of zither. Clang, clang. The sound of a zither rang out, as though tugging at one's heartstrings. Ugh! Ning felt an intense pain in his heart, as though his heart was about to shatter. Ning staggered, and a mouthful of blood sprayed out from his mouth. Slut, you dare to harm the young master? Xiao Qian was both shocked and enraged. She waved her hand, sending a ray of moonlight chopping down towards Xiao Hong's head. Xiao Qian, if you dare to attack, the young master is dead for sure. Xiao Hong completely ignored Xiao Qian's ray of moonlight. Her slender, jade-like fingers pressed against the zither strings, and a hint of gentleness appeared on her face. Young master, when I first saw you, my zither strings were already tied to your heart. 7 strings of love? You actually used such a vicious curse on the young master? Xiao Hong, you deserve to die. Xiao Qian was so angry that her willowy eyebrows were furrowed. She ground her jade-like teeth so hard that they were about to shatter. What the hell is going on? Ning stretched his hand out, wiping away the blood at the corner of his mouth. His heart was completely blank. What sort of godly development was this? It was one thing for Yin Qixia to be a woman, and it was one thing for Granny to be fond of handsome young men. But Xiao Hong, this fellow who was neither male nor female, actually, could it be that he was so handsome that he could shake the heavens and move the earth? No matter if they were male or female, human or monster, none of them would be able to block his elegance. This sort of thing, he'd rather not have it. Youngster, isn't it very shocking? Isn't it very interesting? Big Bosley let out a strange, gloating laugh. 7 zither strings, that means 7 seals. Youngster, you've already found the person who gave you 7 seals. Joker, oh, he's making a cameo. Forget it, you could go play by yourself. The heartless Bosley no longer paid any attention to Ning's helplessness. However, Ning himself had no choice but to deal with it. 7 strings of love, 7 zither strings, 7 seals, all engraved in your heart. Young master, I've already left my seal in your heart. For all eternity, you will be mine. Xiao Hong smiled sweetly, her seductive manner overflowing. Ning felt goosebumps all over his body. From today onwards, there will only be me in your heart. No Xiaoqian, no one else. In your heart, there will only be me. I'm the only one for you. I am the true meaning of your life. I am the ruler of your heart. Xiao Hong laughed loudly, devilishly, and terrifyingly. Xiao Hong, you deserve to die. Xiao Qian's heart was filled with rage. She ground her jade teeth so hard that they creaked. Her heart was filled with grief. This divine ability, which originated from Granny, was completely unbreakable. Young master, you are the ruler of my heart? Ning took a deep breath and clenched his fist tightly. My heart is upright. My heart is unfettered. No one can control my heart. No one can dominate my heart. I am the ruler of my heart. Rumble. It was as if a clap of thunder had exploded. It was as if a shackle had been broken. It was as if he had broken free from his shackles. That strong will, that unfettered will, exploded within Ning's heart. The 7 strings of love imprinted in his heart instantly collapsed. Power, the power that belonged to Ning, once again returned to his body. Go to hell. Sword of annihilation. The 5-colored string soared into the sky. Ning waved his hand and chopped out with his sword. Xiao Hong, this disgusting human and monster, instantly vanished into thin air. She was completely and utterly dead. Rumble. At this moment, the void suddenly exploded. The sky was filled with bloody light that covered the heavens and the earth. A monstrous, baleful aura filled the air. It was as if hell had descended. Bastard, someone bullied me. Kill them for me. Don't let any of them off. Granny Tree Demon shouted loudly. Chapter 1153. Old Monster Blackmount has come. Seeing this strange phenomenon, Ning's heart shook. He hurriedly turned his head towards Xiao Qian and instructed her. Spring grass. Wait here. Don't run around. Granny Tree, Demonis, and Young Flame Gnome were already very powerful. Fairy Crimson Dawn and Yu Wei were only able to suppress them. If another old monster Blackmount came, even Ning himself would find it hard to deal with them. At this moment, Ning, who had just recovered his power, naturally couldn't just watch as Yu Wei was surrounded and attacked by Granny Tree Demonis and old monster Blackmount. Young master, you aren't a scholar? You are this powerful? And who is Springgrass? Xiaoqian's head was filled with bewilderment. Even now, she still hadn't come to her senses. I'll tell you later. The situation was dire. Ning didn't have time to say too much to Xiaoqian. Grabbing Xiaoqian, he soared into the air, joining up with Yu Wei. Senior apprentice sister, old monster Blackmount has come. We can't fight him head-on. Let's leave, quick. Leaping forward, Ning flew to Yu Wei's side. With a wave of his hand, he retrieved his Dark North swords, chopping apart the surrounding vines and roots as he shouted towards Yu Wei. Your power. Seeing Ning display such mighty power, Fairy Crimson Dawn was startled. Could it be that this person really was her junior apprentice brother? Let's go. That so-called old monster Blackmount hadn't even truly arrived. Just the aura he emanated was enough to cause one's heart to tremble. Yue immediately made up her mind. Riding a streak of light, she turned and fled. Ning, Xiaoqian, and Yue all rode a streak of light towards the outside of the curtain of darkness. Run? None of you will be able to run. An enormous roar suddenly rang out from the skies. Rumble. An enormous sound rang out, as though the heavens themselves had collapsed. An enormous spatial rift appeared in the skies, and an incomparably enormous figure emerged from the rift. This is seeing the enormous figure emerge from the rift. Ning's entire body trembled, and he stared, slack-jawed. This is Shangli Yufeng? Isn't that old monster Blackmount? Why has it become Shangli Yufeng? The figure that emerged from the void wasn't old monster Blackmount, Qi Hung, as Ning had expected. Instead, it was a massive, 9-headed serpent that was 30,000 meters long. 9 enormous heads. Sneaky man, hurry up and attack. Kill them all. Kill them all. Granny Tree Demonis Young Flame known looked like a little wife who had been bullied. When she saw the look on her man's face, all of the grievances in her belly instantly exploded. She actually began to cry. Good girl. Don't cry. Your man is back. No one can bully you. Shangli Yufeng transformed into a tall, muscular, dark-skinned man. He landed by young Flame Nong's side, reaching out to embrace him, or rather, her, and gently consoling him. It's too scary. My eyes. I'm going blind. I'm going blind. Ning felt his stomach churn, and he almost vomited. Young Flame Nong, Shui Hongyi, Shangli Yufeng. What exactly was the story between these 3 men? Don't think about it. It was too disgusting. Absolutely not. It's you? Did you offend this god's wife? After comforting young Flame Nong, Shangli Yufeng raised his head to stare at the 3 of them flying in front of him. A cold light flashed through his eyes. I am in charge of the 3 rivers and 2 rivers. I am the ruler of the 5 lakes and 4 seas. I have countless soldiers under my command. You actually dared to offend my wife. Shangli Yufeng gestured with his hand, and a large black flag appeared with a rumbling boom. Vast amounts of water vapor covered the heavens and the earth. Seize them. The giant flag waved, and the world shook. Yes, streams of water vapor exploded out from the surrounding area, surging into the heavens like enormous waves. Above the rolling watery light, countless water-kind spirit creatures lined up in battle formations, approaching from all directions. Shrimp soldiers, crab generals, fish monsters, crocodiles, countless aquatic monsters came in an awe-inspiring manner, their monstrous auras filling the skies. Seeing this formation, Ning was greatly shocked. Shangli Yufeng, how could he have such an enormous force? Previously, he had heard Xiaohou say that this world had a mountain god division and a water god division. Shangli Yufeng called himself the water god. So he was the water god of this world? Where had he found so many monsters? Water god Shangli? The dryad is actually his wife? This is going to be troublesome. Fairy Crimson Dawn seemed to know this water god quite well. Upon seeing this formation, her face turned slightly ashen. Young master, I don't know the relationship between Granny and the water god either. Xiaoqian's entire body was trembling. The only thing we can do right now is fight to the death. Ning raised his long sword, his eyes cold. If we fight, we'll have a chance to live. If we don't, we'll die. All right. Fairy Crimson Dawn raised her scarlet longsword, and her entire body was covered with roiling flames. Today, you and I will fight side by side. Let's kill to our heart's content. Xiaoqian swears to die by your side. Her hands flashed with icy moonlight, and Xiaoqian stood by Ning's side, a look of absolute resolve on her face. If you live, I live. If you die, I die. Then let's kill. Vast amounts of ki began to roil within his body. Ning leapt into the air, his entire body exploding with boundless light. Heavenly transformation. 3 heads, 6 arms. Light exploded, and Ning transformed into a 300-meter tall giant. His 6 arms grabbed the Dark North swords that were dozens of meters long, and with a wild howl, he charged towards the monster army in front of him. Offending Big Sister is an unforgivable crime. Within the vast expanse of water vapor in front of him, a figure suddenly appeared. A lotus-like halo of light appeared, chopping down towards Ning's head. Nine Lotus. Seeing this figure, Ning's entire body trembled. Offending Big Sister? Granny Tree, Demonis, Young Flame known, was Nine Lotus's big sister? Then, she was the concubine of the water god, Shangli Yufeng? Ning's gaze was extremely complicated. He suddenly had the feeling that the truth was simply too cruel. He simply couldn't face it. What are you daydreaming about? A furious roar rang out from behind him, and a blazing lotus of fire shot out. Rumble! The 2 lotuses collided violently, and an enormous shockwave exploded forth. Little Nine, my little sweetheart, why did you personally attack? At this moment, Granny Tree, Demonis, Young Flame known, called out in surprise in a sweet voice. Little Nine, we women don't need to do things like fighting and killing. Come, let Big Sister give you some good love. Their relationship. How complicated is it? Exactly? Hearing the flirtatious tone of Granny Tree, Demonis, Ning, his entire body trembled. Don't think about it. Don't think about it. Too dirty. Kill. 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 After being blocked for a moment by Nine Lotus, in but an instant, the surrounding monster army began to charge forward. The vast expanse of water vapor joined together, forming an enormous battle formation. Damn! Thousands upon thousands of aquatic monsters formed into a formation. Their power fused into one, and their power was absolutely terrifying. This surge of power caused Ning to feel as though a mountain was pressing down from above his head. Every single movement became extremely difficult. Grand Sea Subduing Formation overturned rivers and seas. After the formation was completed, Nine Lotus blocked Yu Wei's sword, then leapt into the midst of the army. With a wave of her hand, a large flag suddenly appeared in her hand. Rumble! It was as though the Milky Way had been turned upside down, as though the dikes of the 4 seas had been breached. The raging waves of fury covered the heavens and covered the earth, wildly sweeping forward and crushing everything in their path. Damn! In the face of this power, even Ning, who trained in the Fiend God Body refining technique, wasn't able to withstand the crushing power of the raging waves, much less Yu Wei and Xiao Qian, 2 weak women. Chapter 1154. I can't retreat. I can't run either. Staring at the raging waves crashing towards him, Ning tightly gripped his sword hilt, straightened his chest, and stood in front of Yu Wei and Xiao Qian. If Ning was by himself, he could have used the Annihilation Sword to chop apart the formation and escape. However, Yu Wei and Xiao Qian were by his side. Once Ning broke out of the formation, the 2 of them would definitely be attacked by the formation. A man had to be responsible. At a time like this, the only thing he could do was endure. 5 elements, Annihilation, Lotus Throne. Ning let out a loud roar, and his entire body exploded with dazzling light. Water gave birth to wood. Wood gave birth to fire. Fire gave birth to earth. Earth gave birth to metal. The 5 elements rotated, transforming into an enormous 5 elements lotus throne. The enormous lotus throne surrounded Ning and the other 2. The 5-colored petals swiveled non-stop, intersecting with each other. A 5-colored aura of annihilation began to swirl around the lotus throne. Annihilation. 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 The watery light that filled the skies swept towards them, but the 5 elements lotus throne was like an anchor, standing tall and unmoving amidst the raging waves. It stood tall and unshakable. No matter how fierce the waves were, no matter how vast the watery mist was, the 5 elements lotus throne exploded with boundless light, constantly annihilating the watery light that swept towards it. It seemed as though it would never dissipate. Damn, I'm using up too much energy. Using the Annihilation Sword to activate the 5 elements lotus throne, Ning felt as though the ki in his body was like a river that had burst its banks, constantly pouring out. If this continued, even if he had pills and liquefied elemental essence on him, he wouldn't be able to last much longer. Once he used up all his pills, the only thing that awaited him would be death. As he furiously swallowed the liquefied elemental essence, Ning's forehead was covered with cold sweat. He was extremely frantic. Damn, I have to think of a way to break out. This Annihilation Lotus Throne should be able to move. A thought flashed through Ning's mind, and he began to slowly drive the Annihilation Lotus Throne forward. This drive used up even more spiritual energy. Scholar, let me help you. Yue stepped forward, pressing her palm against Ning's back as she poured her elemental ki into him. Young master, Xiaoqian's eyes flashed with tears, and she quietly lowered her head. I am a ghost. The yin energy in my body not only won't be able to help you, but will also harm you. I'm just a burden. The lotus platform of annihilation slowly moved forward. The annihilation Tianshu Qi of annihilation was like a boat breaking through the waves, advancing continuously in a raging tide. However, even if the two of them worked together, even if they continuously swallowed liquefied origin essence, the enormous consumption caused their vital energy to be unable to make ends meet. They simply couldn't hold on for much longer. Young master, if there's one less person, you should be able to escape. Xiaoqian raised her head, staring lovingly at Ning. Young master, if there's a next life, you have to come find Xiaoqian. A hint of a smile appeared on Xiaoqian's face. She reluctantly turned her head to look at Ning, then stepped off the lotus dais. No! Ning, who was controlling the Annihilation Lotus Throne, suddenly realized that something was off. He hurriedly turned his head, only to see Xiaoqian walk out of the Lotus Throne. His eyes were filled with deep affection, with longing, with reluctance, and with absolute determination. You live, I live. If you die, I die. By now, there was no longer any time to persuade him. Ning's face was filled with determination as he spoke. Young master, Xiaoqian's entire body trembled. She turned her tear-stained head back, a smile blossoming on her face. Good. For Xiaoqian to be able to share life and death with you, young master, is more than enough. You aren't the only one who can die. Fairy Crimson Dawn looked at the two of them, a complicated look in her eyes. Junior apprentice brother, I trust that in the future, you will definitely be my junior apprentice brother. Today, we will live and die together. With two beauties by my side, I can die without regrets. Ning laughed loudly, summoning all of his spiritual energy and pouring it into the Annihilation Lotus Throne. The dazzling, five-colored lotus throne soared into the air like a flying boat, breaking through the wind and the waves. The lotus throne flew forward, like a boat breaking through the waves. However, this was the final splendor of a shooting star. This was Ning's final gamble. 30,000 meters, 3,000 meters, 300 meters. The five-colored lotus throne drew closer and closer to the edge of the formation. A few dozen meters away, they could already see the aquatic monsters in the formation. As long as they could break through the formation, they would be able to escape. However, when they were only 30 meters away from the monsters, the lotus throne came to a halt. My path, has it come to an end? Looking at the five-colored lotus throne that was gradually dimming, Ning let out a long sigh in his heart. Turning his head to look at Yue and Xiaoqian, Ning smiled, stretched out his hands, and took the two into his arms. At this moment, neither Yue nor Xiaoqian struggled, nor were they bashful. Openly and naturally, they gently leaned against Ning's side. Live and die together. This was the three's common wish. Would they die? As the director, Big Bossly, said, "Young man, the climax of the story is about to come." Shang Liu, who gave you the courage to set up the ocean-subduing formation on the continent? Suddenly, an angry roar shook the world. Have you asked me, the old monster of the Black Mountain? The mighty voice dispersed the dark clouds, dispersed the wild wind, and an enormous, pitch-black mountain appeared in midair. At the peak of this mountain, a handsome, dignified youth dressed in a dark golden robe stood there proudly. The thick and heavy aura was like the entire earth. F***ck off. The enormous black mountain smashed viciously against the ocean's subduing formation, which was filled with water vapor. Rumble. With a heaven-shaking explosion, the ocean's subduing formation, which was filled with water vapor, was smashed apart by the enormous black mountain. The countless aquatic monsters who had set up the formation wildly vomited blood, howling miserably as they fell down from midair. Even more of the aquatic monsters were blasted into a bloody mist by this collision. Brother Chi, having been saved from death's door, Ning saw the figure standing there in midair, and he called out in surprise and joy, "Old monster of the Black Mountain, you dare to ruin my plans? How dare you?" Seeing the ocean-subduing formation he had set up being destroyed by a single blow from the old monster of the Black Mountain, Shangli Yufang was so enraged that he was stamping with rage. "You're a mountain god, while I'm a water god. Do you think I'm afraid of you?" With a furious roar, Shangli Yufang waved his hand, picking up a three-pronged pitchfork, then charged furiously towards Ning. "You say you aren't afraid, but in truth you are." A hint of a cold smile appeared at the corner of Old Monster Black Mountain's mouth. He reached out with his hand, and the enormous black mountain rose into the air, transforming into a giant black seal. "In recent years, I've been too lazy to pay attention to a clown like you. I didn't expect that you would be so arrogant as to think that you are on par with me." The black seal in Old Fiend Black Mountain's hand spun as he stared coldly at Shangli Yufang, who was charging towards him. "You actually dare to set up a sea-suppressing grand formation on the continent? Who gave you the courage?" A cold light flashed through his eyes. Old Monster Black Mountain waved his hand, and the giant black seal flew out of his hand, transforming into an enormous, pitch-black mountain. This mountain was the Black Mountain which Ning had seen when he had entered the Witch River Immortal Estate. Rumble! The heavens collapsed, and the earth caved in. The heavens collapsed, and the earth cracked. The enormous black mountain smashed down onto Shangli Yufang's body, creating an enormous, heaven-shaking sound. Even though Shangli Yufang had gone all out to block, even though he had transformed into a massive serpentine body, he was still smashed heavily into the ground by the enormous mountain. The earth trembled violently, and a stream of pitch-black watery light sprayed out from beneath the black mountain. It seemed as though that was Shangli Yufang's blood. This blood. When Ning saw the blood flowing out from Shangli Yufang's mouth, he suddenly had an extremely strange feeling. That wasn't blood. That was ink. Was this the truth? A blob of ink? This was too terrifying. Chapter 1155. Ink wasn't frightening. What was frightening was, why had ink appeared after Shangli Yufang died? When he thought back to the Witch River Immortal Estate, the primal Shangli Yufang had suddenly transformed into a 30,000-meter-tall Earth Immortal Fiend God. Could it be that it was because of this ink? Then, where had the ink come from? Ning's heart was filled with questions. He couldn't understand what was going on with the ink. "Ah, you scoundrel, you died so tragically." Right at this moment, Granny Tree, Demoness Young Flame, Gnome, let out a heaven-shaking, earth-shattering howl. That desolate, sorrowful cry sounded as though her heart had been shattered, However, in the next instant, Granny Tree Demoness cries transformed into joyous laughter. Good, good, you die for the best. Now, I, your granny, am single again. I can find a handsome young man again. Granny Tree Demoness Young Flame, Gnome wiped away her tears, then smiled sweetly towards Old Monster Black Mountain. She bowed gracefully. "Lord Black Mountain, you are wise and mighty. I have admired you for a long time, and I wish I could offer myself to you. But now, I am all alone with no one to rely on. I hope, Lord Black Mountain, that you will take me in. I will definitely serve you with all my heart. Huh? Ning, seeing this, stared slack-jawed. What a marvel! What a shock! This young flame gnome was beyond saving, right? F***CK off. Upon hearing young flame gnome say, "Offer myself to you," the cold-faced old monster Black Mountain's entire body trembled. His face turned somewhat ashen, and he even let out a dry, retching sound. Lord Black Mountain, I am infatuated with you. Infatuated my ass. Old monster Black Mountain let out a wild roar of shock and rage. He stretched out his hand, and the giant black seal which had killed Shangli Fong suddenly flew out, smashing down towards young flame gnome's head. Rumble, yet another earth-shaking sound. The terrifying granny tree demonis young flame gnome was smashed into the ground, smashed into bits and pieces. Young flame gnome died just like that? Ning's heart trembled. The heir to the divine plumed duke of the Grand Xia dynasty, the successor to the young flame clan, had been treated as a freak and smashed into bits and pieces? Well, he was a bastard anyway. So what if he's dead? Ning naturally didn't care if young flame gnome died or not. All he cared about was, how was he supposed to leave this dreamland? Brother Chi, if they wanted to leave this dreamland, they needed to work together. Ning hurriedly called out to Chi Hung. I'm the Black Mountain Demon. The grim-faced old monster Black Mount gave Ning a cold glance, then waved his hand to summon the Black Seal back. A ghost and 2 cultivators. Why don't you pay your respects to this god? Brother Chi, you've also lost your memories. Am I the only one who remembers what happened in the future? Hearing Chi Hang's words, Ji Ning was startled and his face was filled with helplessness. Memory loss? Black Mountain's old fiend's eyes lit up. Tell me, I'm very interested in your words. Brother Chi, it's like this. Seeing that old fiend Black Mountain was interested in this memory loss, Ning hurriedly told Chi Hung everything that had happened. I'm your friend? Let's explore the heavenly immortal's mansion together. This fairy Crimson Dawn is called Yue. She's your senior apprentice sister. This ghost is called Vanilla. She's your maidservant. Black Mountain Demon blinked. Why do I feel like everyone is related to you? Who are you? I'm Ji Ning. Right now, I should be called Ning Kai-chun. Ning shook his head helplessly, although it was a bit strange. In reality, everyone here was indeed related to him. Ning Kai-chun? A hint of surprise flashed through Black Mountain Demon's eyes. You're Ning Kai-chun? Then, this ghost is called Nie Xiaoqian? Fairy Crimson Dawn, could it be Yin Qi Xia? Brother Chi, you know us? Ning and the other 2 were all shocked. Given Black Mountain Demon's status, a mountain god who commanded thousands of monsters, how could he know an ordinary scholar? How could he know the name of a ghost? How could he know an ordinary cultivator? This matter is a long story. Black Mountain Demon shook his head. He waved his hand and released the black seal, which transformed into a towering mountain. Come, let's continue our discussion in my cave. All right. Ning didn't hesitate at all as he agreed. Young master, junior apprentice brother, Xiao Qian and Yue hurriedly pulled Ning back. Black Mountain Demon's ferocious reputation is awe-inspiring. If we deliver ourselves to him like this, Chi, if I wanted to deal with you, would I need to use such tricks? Seeing Xiao Qian and Yu Wei's actions, Black Mountain Demon laughed coldly, pursing his lips disdainfully. Brother Chi, you must be joking. Ning laughed and nodded. Brother Chi and I are best friends. Of all the people I suspect, I wouldn't suspect you. After comforting Yu Wei and Xiao Qian, Ning led the 2 of them into the air, landing atop the enormous Black Mountain. Let's go. Black Mountain Demon waved his hand, and the enormous Black Mountain transformed into a ray of black light that howled through the air. After everyone left, a woman stepped out of the collapsed water demons in the subduing sea formation. This person was Nine Lotus. The water god is dead. Granny Tree Demon is dead as well. Good. This is great. Ha ha. Wonderful. Nine Lotus laughed wildly, unable to contain her joy. From today onwards, I am a new water god. The 3 rivers, 2 rivers, the 5 lakes, the 4 seas, the 10,000 waters of the world, the trillions of aquatic creatures, they are all under my control. Ha ha! As Nine Lotus was preparing to ascend to the position of the water god, Ning and the others arrived at Black Mountain Demon's lair. Although it was called a lair, it was actually just a series of mountains. Rumble, as the Black Mountain descended, everyone followed the Black Mountain Old Fiend to a huge palace. Please sit. Chi Hung sat down at the main seat on the dais, then waved his hand towards Ning and the others. After everyone was seated, Chi Hung raised his head to look at Ning. Actually, I have some memories as well. However, they're different from yours. Oh, Brother Chi, your memories are? Ning hurriedly asked. I know Ning Kai-chun, Nia Xiaoqian, Yin Chi Xia, because in my memories this is a story. Chi Hung looked towards Ning, a complicated look on his face. If I put it this way, will you understand? Understood. Understood. Ning happily stood up. No wonder you, Black Mountain Demon, are different from the story. Brother Chi, although you don't have any memories of the future, your current situation should be, because you have awakened the memories of a certain reincarnation. Yes, in that life, my name was Chi Hung, and I was a black market fighter from Earth. When I woke up, I somehow became the old demon of the Black Mountain. Chi Hung shook his head helplessly. How could I not know what happened to Black Mountain Demon? Naturally, I can't follow his old path. Earth? Ha! Brother Chi, in my previous life, I also came from Earth. We are from the same hometown. Ning was overjoyed to meet an old friend in a foreign land, and he hurriedly began to talk to Chi Hung about the past of Earth. Hey, what are you talking about? What is a transmigrator? What is a movie? What is Yin Chi Xia was originally a bearded man? What is Xiaoqian should look like Zhu Xian? What the hell are you talking about? Fairy Crimson Dawn was completely confused, and she couldn't help but shout angrily. Ha ha! Ning and Chi Hung looked at each other, then laughed loudly. Chapter 1156. Very good. This show has reached the most critical moment. Liu's face was filled with eagerness as he watched. Next, it will be time for you to leave this world. That will also be the time when I will truly gain something. Big Boss Li's various games seem to be purely for fun, but in reality, every single one of them had a purpose behind them. If you want to leave this world, you have to sever the me of this world. Severing the self, while retaining the true self, is a difficult problem. What will you choose? This was Li Yu's goal, to reach the nothingness of primordial chaos level. The key problem was this. If nothing else existed, then where would the self be? This fictional painting world was one of Li Yu's experiments. Compared to Li Yu's own method of severing the self and transforming into primordial chaos, leaving this painting world was much simpler. However, when these people left the painting world, their thoughts, their choices, their wisdom, perhaps they would be able to inspire Li Yu. Aside from Jining's group, the countless monsters of the Witch River Immortal Estate have all entered this world as well. Now that these cultivators and monsters have understood the essence of this world, they will naturally want to leave. Li Yu rubbed his chin, then laughed and nodded. Thus, it is time for them to understand their previous lives. With a flick of his finger, an invisible force swept across the painting, and the painting world silently began to change. The Black Mountain, Ning, Chi Hung, and the others were chatting within the main hall of the Black Mountain. Right at this moment, Ning sniffed, then suddenly rose to his feet in surprise. Do you smell something? Smell? I don't smell anything. Chi Hung, Yu Wei, and Spring Grass all sniffed while looking towards Ning with puzzled looks on their faces. There is the smell of ink. I can smell ink. Ning looked solemnly towards Chi Hung and the others. Earlier, I noticed ink as well. When you killed Shangli Fong and Granny Dryad, I saw ink flow out from their corpses. What? Chi Hung was shocked, and he abruptly stood up. How is this possible? Why didn't I notice it? Yes, we didn't see it either. Yue and Springgrass shook their heads together. Could it be that, because I have memories and you don't, you can't see the ink? Ning just frowned. Brother Qi, I smell ink again. This is definitely not an illusion. The smell of ink. Qi Hung also frowned and looked up at Ji Ning. Where did you smell the ink? Not here. Ning stretched out his hand and pointed in a circle. They're everywhere. They were everywhere. It's as if we're standing right next to an inkwell. This world has a problem. Qi Hung nodded towards Ning. I've been in this world for more than 1,000 years. I've always had the vague feeling that something was off, but I've never been able to come up with a reason. 1,000 years. It seems that our timing is different. When Ning heard that Qi Hung had stayed for 1,000 years, his face was filled with shock. He had just woken up a few days ago. Even Ning Kai-Chin was only a dozen years old. Wait a minute. A dozen years old? Could it be that I've reincarnated countless times in this world? Reincarnation, Xiao Qian exclaimed. Yes, there must be reincarnations. I've been a ghost for more than 100 years. I've been cultivating for 260 cycles. Yue also reported how long she had been in this world. Brother Qi, do you still remember the original plot of a Chinese ghost story? Do you still remember old demon Black Mountain's identity? If we want to recover our memories, there's only one place. Ning's eyes flashed as he looked up at Qi Hung and said urgently, The underworld. Qi Hung's eyes flashed. The Three Lives Stone. It seems that we have to go to the underworld. Yue pressed down on the long sword at her waist, her sword intent bursting forth. Then, let's mobilize and conquer the underworld. A black metal whip appeared in Qi Hung's hand. The thick power of the earth suddenly exploded, and the whip smashed down on the ground. Rumble. A violent boom rang out from Black Mountain. It traveled through the earth veins and spread throughout all the mountains in the world. Beat the drums. Gather the soldiers. Mobilize. My sons, follow me into the underworld. Your names will be removed from the book of life and death, and you will live forever. The mighty voice rang out from the earth veins and spread throughout the world. Roar, roar. In an instant, all the land monsters in the world raised their heads and roared at the sky. Monstrous demonic aura surged into the sky. Groups of monsters rode on demonic winds and charged towards Black Mountain. Half a day later, hundreds of thousands of monsters had gathered on Black Mountain. Apart from the tens of thousands of intelligent monsters, there were even more monsters. Mobilize the troops to the underworld. Let's go. The enormous Black Mountain suddenly charged up, bringing hundreds of thousands of monsters with it as it charged into the sky. The Nine Nether Underworld is deep underground. Qi Hung's entire body exploded with the power of the earth. The enormous Black Mountain transformed into a ray of black light and charged into the ground. Gates of the underworld opened for me. The enormous Black Mountain charged into the depths of the earth and heavily slammed into a pitch-black and cold screen of light. Rumble. The heavens fell and the earth cracked. The black screen of light instantly shattered. The enormous Black Mountain smashed into the screen of light, then smashed into a towering city pass in front of it, charging into a cold and deathly silent world. How dare you? You dare to attack the underworld? Old monster Black Mountain, you dare to be so rebellious? Angry roars rang out from within the underworld. A sinister wind howled, and black mist surged. Countless ghosts and ghosts covered the sky as they swept over. Kill! Qi Hung let out a furious roar. The enormous Black Mountain exploded with light and smashed viciously towards the ghost army in front of it. Rumble! The enormous, boundless power crushed countless ghost soldiers and smashed apart the ghost army. But there were too many ghost soldiers. After the rampaging Black Mountain charged forward for 1,000 kilometers, it finally slowed down. Ji Ning. Qi Hung shouted towards Ji Ning. Then he exploded with all his power and poured it into the Black Mountain, driving it forward. Understood. Ji Ning leapt out of the Black Mountain. Facing the densely packed ghost soldiers in front of him, he raised his long sword. Annihilation Sword. Five-colored light swirled around him as he chopped out with his sword, annihilating all living things. The endless ghost army in front of him was chopped open by Jining's sword, creating an enormous rift. Blazing red lotus. Yue followed behind Jining. Along the rift, she also chopped out with her sword. Heaven-shaking flames rose up, transforming into an enormous, blazing red lotus that swept out from the rift, ensuring that the tunnel would never close again. Black Mountain Formation arise. Qi Hung let out a furious roar, and the enormous Black Mountain exploded with boundless light. One streak of light after another intertwined, connecting all of the monsters on the Black Mountain together. The combined power of all of the monsters poured into the Black Mountain. Rumble. Hundreds of thousands of monsters joined forces, and the enormous Black Mountain once more charged forward, smashing everything in front of it into smithereens. Explosively, the Black Mountain had already broken through the ghost army. The three-live stone is next to the pool of samsara. Charge! Qi Hung let out a loud roar, driving the Black Mountain towards the pool of samsara, smashing viciously towards it. Chapter 11:57. How dare you act so impudently in the netherworld? Suddenly, a furious, heaven-shaking roar rang out in the skies. An incomparably enormous palm appeared, smashing downwards towards the Black Mountain as though it could blot out the skies. This palm contained the power of the entire netherworld. How terrifyingly powerful was the power of an entire world. The heavens were collapsing, and the earth was collapsing. The enormous palm smashed downwards, causing cracks to appear in the skies. It was as though the entire world was about to be shattered. Once this palm struck, the Black Mountain would be blown apart, and no one would be able to survive. Yama, when Qi Hung saw this heaven-shaking palm, a fierce look appeared in his eyes. Since I dared to attack the netherworld, how can I not have some tricks up my sleeve? Black Mountain Seal. Suppress the netherworld. A thick, dense earth energy began to surge forth. Qi Hung let out a loud roar, pressing down with both hands. The entire Black Mountain trembled, and an aura of nirvanic and apocalyptic nirvanic energy began to explode forth from the Black Mountain. Rumble. After this aura of nirvanic and apocalyptic nirvanic energy exploded forth, the entire netherworld began to rumble. It was as though yet another hegemon had appeared within the netherworld. Half of the power of the netherworld, which had been activated by the Yama's palm, suddenly dissipated. Emperor East Peak, the netherworld emperor? The aura of nirvanic and apocalyptic nirvanic energy emanating from the Black Mountain seal caused the Yama to feel utterly stunned. Annihilation Sword. Ning, in perfect coordination with Qi Hung, took advantage of the fact that half of the power of the netherworld had dissipated to strike out with his sword. A five-colored light that could annihilate all things soared into the skies, chopping apart all things. It was unstoppable. The sword light chopped through the skies, chopping the enormous palm which was descending towards them into two halves. Oh! A desolate, agonized scream rang out as the enormous palm exploded, causing blood to rain down. It's actually ink? Seeing the blood splatter everywhere, Ning began to frown. In Ning's eyes, after the giant palm shattered, what fell down wasn't blood at all. It was ink. What is the truth of this world? Ink, what is going on? Ning gripped his long sword tightly, his eyes cold. No matter what, I have to get to the three-live stone first. Sooner or later, I will reveal the truth. The Black Mountain Seal is a supreme treasure left behind by the Netherworld Emperor, the Emperor of the East Peak. The Emperor of the East Mountain was the ruler of the underworld before the Yama King level. Yama King, do you think you can stop me? Qi Hung snorted coldly, and the vigorous power of the earth surged again. The huge Black Mountain rampaged, crushing everything in its path. After one of Yama's palms was severed, he was forced to retreat in defeat. Soon after, the reincarnation pool appeared in front of everyone. Down below were 6 sparkling, enormous ancient wells, surrounded by 10,000 meters tall rock. This boulder was the 3 live stone. That's the 3 live stone. Past, present, and future lives. Let's go and recover our memories. Chi Hung shouted loudly and waved his hand. A powerful force surged on the Black Mountain and sent everyone on the Black Mountain to the reincarnation pool. The huge Black Mountain transformed into a large seal and fell into Chi Hung's hand. Chi Hung floated down from the sky and arrived in front of the 3 live stone. Past life, present life, and future life. According to what Ji Ning said, I lost my memories of the afterlife. Chi Hung took a deep breath. Afterlife? I want to see what sort of afterlife this is. He reached out and pressed his hand against the 3 live stone. An enormous rumbling sound rang out in his mind, as though a shackle had been unlocked. Memories that had been sealed away for many years now resurfaced in Chi Hung's mind. Ah, these are my memories? How interesting. Autark Huanyuan's memories and the memories of the Grand Xia cultivator, Chi Hung, resurfaced in Chi Hung's mind. Now that his memories have been restored, Chi Hung could tell that everything before him was completely different. It really is the smell of ink. The entire world is filled with the smell of ink. Ji Ning, Yue had regained her memories. When she thought back to what had happened within the sea suppression formation, she couldn't help but blush. Young master, I'm spring grass. I'm spring grass. Xiaoqian had regained her memories as well. She grabbed Ning's hand, tears of joy streaming down her face. Ji Ning, you were absolutely right. This world, it is filled with the smell of ink. At this moment, Chi Hung walked over, a solemn look on his face as he stared at Ning. Based on my speculations, this world is most likely nothing more than a painting. An ink painting? He pointed towards the netherworld before him. There is no netherworld, no mortal world. Everything is fake. Fake? Isn't this a dream of a past life? Perhaps we've simply returned to our past lives under the influence of this painting. It might not necessarily be fake, right? Ning didn't quite agree with Chi Hung's judgment, right? Everything that happened in this life has to be real. Young master, I am Xiaoqian. I am Springgrass. As Springgrass saw it, this was clearly a return to their past lives. Although this wasn't a true past life, it was nothing more than a dream. Still, this experience was definitely real. I think it's more likely to be a dream as well. Yue didn't feel that everything in this world was fake either. To her, the feeling of being together within the sea suppression formation was real. It was something that she would forever remember. A dream is fine. A painting is fine. There's nothing different about it. Chi Hung chuckled, then turned to look at Ning and the others. His face turned solemn. I think I've found a way to return. What way? Ning and the others were shocked. They looked at Chi Hung with faces full of surprise. If this is a painting, how can the person in the painting not be in the painting? Of course, it's to erase their existence from the painting. With a wave of his hand, the Black Mountain seal appeared in his hand. Emperor East Mountain, the seal of the Netherworld Emperor, wields the authority of the Netherworld Kingdom. However, it's not mine. Using his fingers as a blade, he viciously chopped down on the Black Mountain seal. Crack! The seal that Chi Hung had left on the Black Mountain seal shattered. This caused Chi Hung's face to turn pale, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. Brother Chi, seeing this, Ning let out a cry of surprise. It's fine. Everything is fake. This mouthful of blood is also fake. Raising his head to look at the sky, a strange smile appeared on Chi Hung's face. Long, long ago, in my past life, I've seen illusions that were even more realistic. Although this illusion was real, it seemed like someone had intentionally exposed the smell of ink. This hint is already very obvious. If you want to escape from the illusion, you have to see through reality and illusion. Turning his head to look at Ji Ning, Chi Hung smiled. In this painting, even my existence is an illusion. Only by cutting away all the fake can you see the truth. But what if it's not a painting? What if it's real? Wouldn't you be committing suicide? Yue frowned as she looked at Qi Hung. Isn't this too risky? Of course I'm not committing suicide. I'm just cutting away everything that doesn't belong to me, including my current body, including all the memories I have here. He raised his hand, and the vast power of the earth condensed in his palm. Cut away all the fake and see the truth. With a boom, Qi Hung annihilated himself with a palm strike. Everything vanished into thin air. It was as if Qi Hung had never existed. He succeeded or failed? Ning and the others looked at each other. This question, unless he tried it himself, he would never be able to find the answer. Should they commit suicide like Qi Hung? What if his judgment was wrong? Chapter 1158. Brother Qi, have you succeeded or not? Ning stared at the Black Mountain seal hovering in the air, not saying a word. Young master, to leave this world, do we really have to sever everything from this world? Young master, I don't want to sever Xiaoqian's life, nor do I want to sever Ning Caichen's life. Spring Grass looked towards Ning, her eyes filled with boundless love. Whether in the past or the present, Xiaoqian or Spring Grass, they are both me. Why do I have to sever my own memories? I don't want to forget all of this. Qi Heng's method might be correct for him, but might not be for us. Yue shook her head. Reality and illusion are different in everyone's eyes. Qi Hung feels that the memories of this world are illusions, that they are fake. However, I feel that my heart is the only real thing. It's definitely different. Ning turned his head, smiling towards the two. Brother Qi feels that this is a painting. Only by erasing all traces of yourself within the painting can you leave it. Severing all illusions and revealing the truth is indeed the correct thing to do. But why do you have to sever me? Since this world is an illusion, then let's sever it. All right, my heart is the only real thing. My heart is the only one. Junior apprentice brother, let's sever this world together. Yue gripped her sword hilt, sword intent erupting from her entire body. Whether it's a dream or an illusion, it doesn't matter where it is. As long as I can stay by your side, that's enough. Spring Grass stood behind Ning, a smile on her face. I don't care about the result. I only care about the process. Everything that I experience with you, young master, this is my reality. Rumble. Right at this moment, an enormous explosion could be heard from the horizon. A cold wind howled angrily, a black fog roiled, and a vast, boundless aura filled the skies. You have caused chaos in the netherworld. Unforgivable. A black aura filled the skies, and a middle-aged man wearing a flat crown and black imperial robes appeared. He stood in midair atop a black cloud, his face filled with rage as he stared at Ning's group. Kill! 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 Behind the emperor-robed man, an endless amount of dark clouds began to howl. A dense mass of countless ghostly soldiers formed into an enormous military formation, surrounding the group. Ning, young master. Yue and Chun Chao's faces turned pale as they saw the king of hell's monstrous aura and the endless ghost soldiers in front of them. Previously, it was Qi Hung who had joined forces with hundreds of thousands of demon soldiers to activate the Black Mountain seal of Imperial Lord East Mountain. Only then had they broken through the obstruction and found the Three Lives Stone. Now, Qi Hung was gone, the Black Mountain seal was ownerless, and those hundreds of thousands of demon soldiers, were the demon soldiers. Were the hundreds of thousands of demon soldiers that Qi Hung brought over. Ning suddenly realized that the hundreds of thousands of monstrous soldiers surrounding the Three Lives Stone had actually disappeared. Ha ha! Sure enough, everything was an illusion. Then, I'll cut down all these fabrications. Ning raised his long sword, causing the five-colored sword light to surge into the skies. He turned his head to look at Spring Grass and Yue. It will definitely be extremely difficult to annihilate this world. Senior Marshal Sister, Chun Chao, this road is extremely dangerous and difficult. Do you want to go with me? If you live, I live. If you die, I die. Spring Grass didn't hesitate at all, taking a step forward and standing shoulder to shoulder with Ning. It's not the first time we've gone through life and death together. Why do you need to ask? Yue raised her longsword, standing by Ning's side. Then kill. Leaping into the air, Ning let out an angry roar and brandished his longsword. The all-annihilating sword light howled through the air, chopping viciously towards the army of ghostly soldiers in front of him. Battle. Endless, unending battle. Endless, unending battle. He didn't know how long he had fought for, or how many ghostly soldiers he had killed. He had used up all of his ki and used up all of his pills. His entire body was covered with wounds, and in many places his white bones could be seen. Ning was still holding on. He was still fighting. But Spring Grass was no longer able to hold on. Yue was no longer able to hold on either. Spring Grass's soul body was already on the verge of dissipating, while Yue could barely stand. The path to annihilating the world truly is incomparably difficult. It isn't enough to have the heart to annihilate the world. I also need the power to annihilate the world. Ning's heart was filled with unwillingness. My choice is my heart. My path is definitely not wrong. However, my strength is not enough. I still cannot destroy this dreamscape. Dreamscape? Ha ha! I understand now. I understand now. Everything is an illusion. Thus, Ning raised his head. He stared at the endless horde of ghostly soldiers in front of him, then stared at Emperor Yama, whose divine aura filled the heavens. A hint of a smile appeared on his face. Thus, your power is also illusory. Your very existence is an illusion. Sword of annihilation, sever all illusions. A vast, five-colored light soared into the heavens, sweeping out like a furious tide. It filled the skies, blotting out the earth. Under the sweeping power of this annihilation light, the countless ghostly soldiers, the mighty Yama King, and even the entire Netherworld kingdom itself, all of them vanished into thin air. Everything had been an illusion. Crunch. The sound of space shattering could be heard. The cold, dark Netherworld kingdom was like a shattered mirror, shattering into pieces and disintegrating into nothingness. We succeeded? Upon seeing this, the dying Spring Grass and Yu Wei's bodies trembled. They looked towards Ning, their faces filled with delight. We succeeded, but there's still someone we need to meet. Ning nodded, then looked at the three of them, their bodies covered with wounds. He shook his head. Everything is an illusion. The Netherworld kingdom is an illusion. The mortal world is an illusion as well. In fact, even the wounds on our bodies are an illusion. With a wave of his hand, all of the wounds on his body instantly healed, leaving behind not a single scar. The wounds on your bodies are an illusion as well. With a wave of his sleeve, a strange surge of energy swept out, instantly healing the wounds on Yue and Spring Grass as well. Faith, energy? Just because I believe that there are no wounds, there must be no wounds? This fellow, Ji Ning, truly lives up to his reputation as the chosen of the heavens. He was actually able to gain insights into faith energy from this place. Upon seeing this, Liu laughed and nodded. So long as one's faith was firm, so long as one believed that their wounds were fake, then they wouldn't be wounded. This was because this world was fake to begin with. Everything was fake, but to ensure that others weren't wounded as well, that wasn't easy. This meant that Ning had already gained a basic understanding of faith energy. Let's go. Let's leave the Netherworld kingdom. Ning reached out to grab Yue and Spring Grass, then took a single step forward, leaving the crumbling Netherworld kingdom and returning to the mortal world. Distance is an illusion as well. Raising his head to look at the world around him, Ning chuckled, then took another step forward. The world changed. In the blink of an eye, Ning's group of three appeared within a vast sea. Greetings, Lord Water God. Beneath the sea, within a towering, extravagant palace, Nine Lotus was seated high above, and countless aquatic monsters were kneeling before her. Nine Lotus, have you lost yourself in an illusion? Ning's group of three suddenly, noiselessly appeared within the palace. Ning stared at the awe-inspiring Nine Lotus seated high above him, then sighed and shook his head. Nine Lotus, she isn't the same type of person as me. Ning let out a long sigh. This first girlfriend of his would most likely become an ex-girlfriend. Chapter 11:59. Who is it? The sudden appearance of Ning's group caused Nine Lotus to be both shocked and enraged. Ning Kaichen, Yin Qixia, and Xiaoqian? You actually dare to barge into my underwater estate? You are courting death. Nine Lotus rose to her feet, her surroundings seething with waves of water and a murderous aura. Nine Lotus, seeing this, Ning let out a resigned sigh. She was his ex-girlfriend. After all, Ning didn't want to start a fight with her. Nine Lotus, you haven't regained your memories. I now have the power to help you regain your memories. With a flick of his finger, he sent a surge of faith energy into Nine Lotus' mind. Liu's seal on everyone's memories had already been undone. This surge of faith energy was like a key that instantly broke through the shackles. Ji Ning, Yu Wei. The faith energy cleansed her soul. Nine Lotus' body trembled as she regained her memories. And then, this is all fake. Ning Kaichun, you actually dared to use sorcery to mess with my heart? You are courting death. Men seize him. She had regained her memories, but she didn't believe them to be real. Truth and falsehood, illusion and reality. It all depends on each person's choice. So that's how it is. Ning gave Nine Lotus a deep look, then sighed and shook his head. Since you believe this place to be real, then do as you please. Nine Lotus didn't want to believe that her memories were real. She didn't want to believe that they were real. Even though Ning wanted her to leave, she didn't want to. There was nothing anyone could do. You take care of yourself. Ning shook his head, then turned to look at Yu Wei and Springgrass. Let's go back. All right. Yu Wei and Springgrass both understood the truth. Springgrass's truth was that she followed Ning. Wherever he went, she would go. This was the truth. Yu Wei's truth was that my heart is the truth. After helping Ning break through all illusions, they were now qualified to leave the world of the painting. Light flashed, and the three of them instantly disappeared. This is seeing the three of them suddenly disappear. Nine Lotus' entire body trembled. Can it be he was telling the truth? Can those memories be real? No, that was fake. I am the water god. I control all the water in the world and billions of demons. I have the strongest power in the world. One day, I will be able to rule this world. I'm not the lover of a little cultivator, nor am I the successor of a tribe. Instead, I'm the ruler of this world. Ning Kaichun, you can't mess with my mind. I don't want these fabricated memories. With a wave of his hand, the Nine Lotus / erased the awakened memories in his mind. Temperament determines one's path. Qi Hung knew that there was a power in this world that he couldn't resist. For example, the Emperor of Origins back then and the current Dao ancestor Black-Yellow. Therefore, he left the world of the scroll and chose to cut off all traces of himself in the scroll. Severing oneself required more courage than severing others. Ning didn't have a deep understanding of the world, and so he didn't have the feeling that he couldn't resist it. In addition, he had the fearlessness of a fledgling. Therefore, he chose to destroy the entire world. As for Nine Lotus, she was a woman who pursued power. Naturally, power was her #1 priority. Therefore, she erased her memories. The plot of a Chinese ghost story has come to an end. Liu chuckled. He no longer paid any attention to Ning and the others who had left the scroll, nor did he care about the painting he had tossed out. I'll treat this scroll world as a reward for all of you. As for which one of you gets the painting, that's none of my business. Turning back, Liu began to ponder the benefits of this experiment. Qi Hang's choice is to cut off his own brand, so as to no longer exist in this world. To me, this is an inspiration. Liu tapped the table in front of him, pondering. According to this method, if I cut off all traces of myself in space-time, all matter, all laws, all karma, and all fate, would I also be considered to cease to exist? Would I also be considered to have nothing in the primordial chaos? But in this way, aside from the concept of myself, I would have nothing else. No one would remember Liu. No one would know about Liu. Space-time, matter, laws, karma, and fate would all cease to exist. Liu would no longer exist. Was there any meaning to existing in such a manner? Qi Hang's method definitely cannot be used. Liu shook his head. This sort of state will completely erase all traces of myself. It'll be as though I never existed. This sort of state is completely meaningless. At this point, there would be no difference between existing and not existing. Jining's method is to destroy the entire world. To me, that means destroying all worlds and space-time, reducing everything to nothingness and chaos. Liu shook his head again. Even if everything is reduced to nothingness and cease to exist, I still won't be able to reach the level of nothing in the primordial chaos. It's completely meaningless. It seemed as though this experiment had already failed. I was mentally prepared for the failure of this experiment long ago. The most difficult part of nothing in the primordial chaos is to both destroy one's own body and make it indestructible. Thus, the experiment must continue. Liu turned his head to look at the three realms, a hint of a smile on his face. You listened to my Tao lecture at the Dark Yellow Palace and benefited from it. Now it's time to pay it back. He waved his hand and struck out with his palm, causing an invisible surge of power to envelop the entire three realms. In this moment, all of the living beings within the three realms suddenly felt an inexplicable sense of dread. The Golden Immortals and Tao Fathers were so shocked that they all jumped to their feet. They raised their heads to stare at the three realms, their hearts filled with waves of shock. The apocalypse, the apocalypse, the apocalypse? The three realms have already reached the apocalypse? The Golden Immortals, Tao Fathers, and Elder Gods could all sense the aura of the apocalypse that permeated the world. It was as though the entire world was wailing in grief. Since the birth of this world, it has already reached the end of the epic. Why is it so early? Can it be that the primordial war shattered heaven and earth, damaging the prime essences of heaven and earth, causing the apocalypse of the three realms to arrive early? All of the major powers were silent. The apocalypse is coming. The apocalypse is coming. At the golden immortal level, the Tao Fathers were already one with the heavenly Tao and coexisted with the world. However, now that this world was about to come to an end, continuing to coexist with the world would only result in death. Tao Father Black Yellow said that there are great Taos beyond the great Taos, and worlds beyond the world. Thus, leaving the three realms is the only way to survive. But how could one transcend the world? One's body, soul, cultivation, great Taos, everything came from this world. Everything was a part of this world. Once the world came to an end, even if one fled to the depths of the universe, one would not be able to avoid the apocalypse. One would still perish along with the world. How could one transcend? How could one transcend? Find Tao Father Black Yellow. I request an audience with Tao Father Black Yellow. When faced with a life-and-death crisis, when faced with the apocalypse of the three realms and unable to think of a solution, one could only seek out his master. Chapter 1160. The storm of the three realms is about to descend, and the end of heaven and earth is at hand. Master, please take pity on us and bestow upon us a method to avoid this tribulation. Master, please be merciful. Master, please be merciful. We pray with all our hearts. Master, please take into account the difficulties we have faced in our cultivation and bestow upon us a path to survival. The Golden Immortals, the pure young true immortals, and all of the immortals and gods of the three realms who were listening to the sermon in the arcane Yellow Palace all fasted, bathed, burned incense, and kowtowed. 1 day, 2 days. After a total of 81 days of praying and kowtowing, Tao Father Arcane, Yellow, finally responded. Ugh! A long sigh rang out, causing the hearts of the praying immortals to tremble. They were all overjoyed. "Master, please be merciful." The immortals and gods kowtowed even more sincerely. Where there is life, there is death. Where there is success, there is failure. The birth and the end of a world are the laws of heaven and earth. When heaven and earth come to an end, a new world can be born from the primordial chaos. "Master, please be merciful." "Master, please be merciful." We all understand the principles you speak of, but when the next epoch is born, even if new living beings are born, we will no longer exist. We will become golden immortals and elder gods. Who will want to die? Oh well, you have come to listen to my sermon in the arcane Yellow Palace. This could be considered as a karmic bond being forged. I will instruct you on a path to transcendence. Thank you, Master. The praying immortals and gods were so overjoyed that they began to weep. Master, he really hadn't abandoned us. Master truly was merciful. If they knew that all of this was an experiment set up by Li Yu, they would probably vomit blood, right? Watch carefully. This is the method to transcendence. A speck of light lit up. In front of all of the praying immortals and gods, a vast ocean appeared. In this vast ocean, countless fishes were swimming back and forth. And then the ocean began to shrink and wither, and the countless fish began to die. The ocean began to dry up. Their living places were about to disappear. The end of the world was about to come. Some of the stronger fish began to struggle out of the ocean. Some of the fishes rushed out of the water and landed on the shore. Then they all died on the shore. It seemed as though extinction. The ocean began to dry up, and more fish began to die. None of the fish that rushed out of the water and landed on the shore could survive. Fish, they can't leave the water. But what if it's not a fish? Just as he finished speaking, a change occurred in the remnant sea. Voila! With the sound of water splashing, a fish rushed out of the water and whizzed into the sky. Bang! Countless drops of blood burst out from the fish's body, and its scales fell off one after another. Its flesh and blood were peeled off one after another, and all traces of it being a fish were removed. TSK. With a bird cry, the fish suddenly turned into a bird. It spread its wings and soared into the blue sky. Soon after, more fish rushed out. They turned into insects, some into beasts, and some into snakes. They were no longer fish. They had already transcended the ocean. Cut off all barriers and become free. Break free from the shackles and see the truth. This is the method of transcendence. The light screen instantly disappeared without a trace. Teacher is merciful. Thank you, teacher. Seeing the scene in front of them, the immortals and gods all understood that to transcend this world, it was like a fish leaving the sea. Only by killing all the fish's bodies could they turn into birds and roam the world freely. But how could he sever this body and still maintain his own existence? This was the biggest problem. Fish could turn into birds, but they could also turn into snakes, insects, and beasts. Teacher only talked about the great Tao. Everyone had their own methods. This method had to be comprehended by oneself. After understanding the true meaning of Tao Father Xuanhuang's words, the immortals and gods all entered secluded meditation to comprehend their own methods of transcendence. For a fish to turn into a bird, it first has to know what a bird is. The 3,000 great Taos that teacher spoke of are birds. Some people severed their own Tao and poured everything into the 3,000 great Taos. Some people believed that there was no need to sever their own bodies. As long as they turned into birds, they would be able to transcend. Everyone had their own methods, and everyone had their own understanding. Liu's face was all smiles. All that's left is to wait. Wait for the harvest season to arrive. The tribulation of the three realms? The end of the world? Haha, I'm not a member of the three realms. The destruction of the three realms has nothing to do with me. Old Man Yuan's face was covered in a cold smile. Since the end of the tribulation is about to arrive, my plan will be even more convenient. A tribulation had been about to happen, and now that it had arrived, he could take advantage of the chaos. Tribulation? Tribulation? Good, good. The tribulation is about to arrive. Patriarch Demon Heart, who had been slain by Nuwa and had been forced to merge a bit of his true soul into the Tao of the Demon Heart, let out a loud laugh. Once the tribulation arrives, the hearts of the people will waver, and the Demon Heart will flourish. The day of my escape won't be too far off. I severed everything about myself long ago, leaving only a bit of my true soul behind. Even if the three realms are destroyed, it will have nothing to do with me. Once I escape the three realms, I'll be able to roam the world as I please. Patriarch Demon Heart felt as though this was a godsend. Illusions. This is all an illusion. Liu laughed and shook his head. This is just an experiment. You're overthinking things. Within the Moon Palace, Fushi, Gonggong, Hoi, and Chong, they were seated in a circle, their faces solemn. The tribulation really has arrived. Fushi let out a long sigh. I only saw a small portion of the tribulation. Now, this is the true tribulation of the world. The destruction of the three realms, the destruction of countless living beings. Even though Teacher has bestowed upon them the Tao of Transcendence, how many people will actually be able to do so? That's right. Not even we can guarantee that we'll be able to transcend, to say nothing of those mortals. When the tribulation comes, we'll only be able to save ourselves. We won't be able to save anyone else. Hoi let out a long sigh, then shook his head. Atop Mount Ling, Amitba's face was filled with grief. All living beings are suffering, but we aren't able to deliver them. Alas, even Buddhas aren't able to deliver themselves. How can they deliver the living beings of the world? Tathagata and Mithriel both let out long sighs, then lowered their heads and said nothing. The Swallow Mountain region of the Grand Xia dynasty. After leaving the world of the painting, Qi Hung, Ning, and the others all came to Serpentwing Lake. Brother Qi, can you sense that this world seems to be somewhat different? Ning and Qi Heng's levels of cultivation were still low, and so they weren't able to sense the aura of the end of heaven and earth. Still, they could sense that everything was different. It is indeed rather strange. However, our current levels of cultivation are still too low. There's no way for us to know the truth. Qi Hung shook his head. No matter what, the most important thing is to increase our power. As he spoke, Qi Hung glanced at Ning, then laughed. Right? After you take that painting, does senior apprentice sister Nine Lotus still not want to come out? Yes. Ning let out a long sigh. The Witch River Immortal Estate is actually a painting. That Celestial Immortal Witch River actually did something like this. This isn't something that Celestial Immortal Witch River can accomplish. Qi Hung shook his head. As I see it, the person who painted this painting is far from celestial immortal. However, this is something that we can't do anything about. Young Flame Nong is dead. Shang Yufang is dead as well. Nine Lotus refuses to come out. This matter is quite troublesome. Ning once more shook his head. It can't be considered troublesome. Qi Hung laughed. When the time comes, we'll just hand this painting over. What can we do about something that is beyond our abilities? Young Flame Nong and Shang Yufang, you were the one who killed them. You severed the memories of old Monster Black Mountain's reincarnation. Do you think you could deny all responsibility? Ning was speechless. Chapter 1161. This is only an experiment, and also a game. Liu sat in the chaos outside the three realms. A screen of light appeared in the great hall of the Umbral Palace, displaying the infinite dimensions of the three realms and the countless lives within. Of course, this is all an illusion. The Khanate Great Void Tao could create an illusory world out of thin air. The illusory world concealed reality, and the beings of the three realms unwittingly sank into it. I'm definitely not going to destroy the three realms and bring this world to an end. For the sake of an experiment, I'm going to destroy an entire world and kill countless lives. How could I, with my benevolence, do something like that? Liu looked at the screen of light in front of him with a smile. A bit of illusory power rushed out of his fingertip and entered the screen of light. Great void, illusory realm, time acceleration. Even if the three realms fell into an end, it would take over 10,000 years for it to completely disappear. An illusory world constructed by the Great Void Tao was much more convenient to operate. Time continued to flow in the illusory world within the screen of light. The crisis of the end of nirvana was imminent, and the beings of the three realms were even more eager to seek transcendence. What I want is for you to think of a way to transcend. What I want is for you to sever your connection with the three realms. With the wisdom of countless people gathered together, I will be able to gain some inspiration from the sparks of your wisdom. Liu himself was indeed at a loss on how to deal with the chaos nothingness. He did not know where to start. Nothing existed in the chaos, and everything became chaos. But if even he didn't exist, then there was no way he could continue playing. It's not just cultivators. All sentient beings in the three realms will have thoughts of survival in the face of destruction. Perhaps most of these thoughts are worthless. But even if they're just random thoughts, perhaps they could be enlightened? The Great Void illusory realm could display all the thoughts of the beings of the three realms. Liu only needed to slowly watch. 1,000 years passed in the blink of an eye within the illusory realm. Forefather Windfiend has already found a way to lead everyone out of this world. But the Forefather's abilities and spells are yet to be perfected. We need time. The three realms is a pond. Now, there was less and less water in the pond. If we want to stall for time, we have to reduce the number of fish in the pond. Kill the people of Disk Ancient World. Only by killing them all will the living beings of our seamless world have a chance to transcend. Kill. Under the instigation of Patriarch Demon Heart and Old Man Yuan, the War of the Three Realms had officially begun. The Three Realms was formed from the fusion of the Panga world and the Seamless world. Over the past hundreds of millions of years, the three realms of mortals and gods had gradually lost the hostility of the Panga formation and the Seamless formation, slowly becoming one. However, at this juncture of life and death, where all living beings were striving for transcendence, a single spark was enough to reignite the flames of war. The three realms was like a pond. As the water decreased, it would dry up sooner or later. But if the number of fish in the pond decreased as well, he would be able to buy more time. After all, until now, no immortal god had been able to truly comprehend the method of transcendence from the black-yellow Tao ancestor. The Seamless formation had begun the war, and the Panga formation had accepted the challenge without hesitation. The flames of war were everywhere. The countless planes and space-time of the three realms were all drawn into the flames of war. Slaughter and destruction were everywhere. This was because Patriarch Windfiend was researching a way to lead the living beings of the three realms into transcendence, while the Amitabha formation of the Panga formation was researching a way to deliver the living beings of the three realms. They had discovered that the karmic energy of the living beings of the three realms seemed to be a grand Tao that allowed the fish to transform into birds. And so, as a result, it wasn't just cultivators who were fighting over the karmic energy of the living beings of the three realms. Even mortals were fighting each other. A tribulation. This is a true tribulation. Fushi stared at the flames of war, a look of misery on his face. As the holy emperor of the human race, I have mastered the pre-celestial Tao of Tai and am in control of destiny. But I am unable to see through destiny. There is nothing I can do about it. Your Majesty Fushi, I can't watch any longer. Hoi stared at the flames of war in the three realms. He clenched his fists tightly. The Seamless demons are wreaking havoc upon the living beings of the three realms. I'm going to fight. Of course we're going to fight. Gong Gong stood up as well, aqueous light surging from his body. No matter what the mastermind behind the scenes is planning, we've already escaped his control. We just have to be careful in this battle. All right, Fushi stood up abruptly. Then let's fight. With Gong Gong, Hoi, Chang'e, Fushi, and the others joining the fray. The battle became even more intense. Dao Father's 3 pure ones. How should we deal with this battle? In Tushita Palace, Lord Tathagata looked helplessly at 3 pure ones. Teacher has bestowed upon us the art of transcendence. As long as we meditate and comprehend it, there will always be a chance to transcend the world. But I can't calm my heart anymore. I do have some insights. I'd like to share them with you, fellow Taoist. 3 pure ones slapped the top of his head, and 3 streaks of azure energy shot out of his head. Taoism's 3 pure ones and Buddhism's 3 corpses. These 2 arts both require one to sever a part of oneself. Teacher's art of transcendence requires one to sever the body of a fish and transform into a bird. Then, 3 pure ones looked up at Lord Tathagata. What if we sever ourselves in this battle? Lord Tathagata paused, then burst into laughter. Good. I understand what you mean, fellow Taoist. Then let's give up this body. The Buddhists are joining the battle. I wield holy virtue and wield the sword of holy virtue to bring order to the universe. The Holy Emperor Xianyuan raised the Xianyuan sword high above his head and commanded the cultivators of the various human tribes to fight the seamless formation in an earth-shattering battle. The 3 realms are fighting to this extent. Liu frowned when he saw the flames of war everywhere in the heavenly plains. They're only focused on fighting and not on studying the art of transcendence. This doesn't meet my requirements. Then, let's create an example of transcendence. The power of an example is limitless. With a flick of his finger, Qi Hung, who was cultivating in seclusion in the 3 realms, suddenly gained a hint of enlightenment. 1,000 years had passed within the illusory world. Qi Hung had already reached the golden immortal level of power. However, as Autar Kunyuan, Qi Hung didn't feel much of a sense of belonging to the 3 realms. He only cared about his own cultivation and didn't pay any attention to the war in the 3 realms at all. Even though Ji Ning had joined the battle, Qi Hung still hadn't. A golden immortal Tao Father was incredibly powerful, but he kept a very low profile and only cared about cultivation. This made it so that neither side dared to rashly provoke him. Although I was Autar Kunyuan in my past life, this body came from the 3 realms as well. The destruction of the 3 realms is connected to me as well. For me, transcendence is the most important thing. But how can I transcend? I've seen Tao Father Black Yellow's method of transforming a fish into a bird from someone else. Severing myself isn't hard. The hard part is how to transform into a bird after severing the fish. Why do I have to transform into a bird? I'm clearly a yellow bear. If I sever my 3 realms body and only have my Hunyuan body left, wouldn't that be enough? In this moment, Qi Hung suddenly understood his own method of transcendence. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.